After being bitten by a wolf in rural Vermont, aging book editor Will Randall finds himself full of youthful vigor. Randall then discovers that he's been fired and replaced by Stuart Swinton, a vicious young executive. As Randall struggles to regain his position, he becomes enthralled with Laura Alden, his former boss's daughter, and as increasingly animal-like urges begin to overwhelm him, Randall worries that he may be a werewolf. Welcome to another installment of Midnight Double Feature, and tonight we'll be covering 1994's Wolf, directed by Mike Nichols. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another installment of Midnight Double Feature. I am Collin, along with my intrepid co-host Zoheb. Say hello, Zoheb.
Hello, hello. I don't know what intrepid means, but I hope it's good.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. Thanks for listening. Things are heating up over here. We're getting excited. We've got a lot of big news coming out soon. We've had some good possibilities present themselves to us. So things are getting really, really good. I'm also really excited to be covering this movie. I'm just going to say right here, this is actually one of my favorite movies of all time. I'm not saying it's one of the best. I want to make that distinction clear. You know, this is not one of the best movies of all time, but it is fucking great, and I love this movie. I grew up watching this with my older brother Austin, and my older brother Adam. Of course, I think I've said this 1,000 times on here, but when you've got two older brothers, you know, you're going to see a lot of shit you probably shouldn't see when I think I was 4 when this came out. And I remember watching this probably at like 6 or 7 or something like that. I think it is R-rated. I think so. But I mean, for a kid growing up in the Bible Belt in the United States, it's hard to get your hands on some R-rated shit sometimes. But yeah, I mean, how are you doing tonight, Zoheb? What'd you think of this movie?
I'm good, dude. I'm good. I'm sure you can probably tell by the sound of my voice. I am very under the weather. Yeah, poor little bitch. Well, it's funny because on our upcoming attractions episode last week, Matt and I were talking about how good the weather is, and it seems like whenever the weather kind of like shifts, like I just fucking get thrown out, man. I'm just like out, like.
Oh no, I do the same thing, dude. It fucks me up hardcore.
Like, here comes the phlegm, turn the fucking nose tap on, like, you know, it's all the bullshit again. I'm just like, I hope I'm in the peak of it right now because I want to just fucking enjoy my weekend, man. Like, it's Friday night and I'm just like, I don't want this to be my weekend.
Right, dude.
But, yeah, like, I don't know, man. I guess it's the way things go sometimes, but this movie... This is okay. So we are coming at this from 2 very different perspectives.
Oh boy.
Do you know how old I was when I first saw this movie?
Were you even born yet? Were you, a year old?
Yeah, I was a year old, but when I first saw this movie, I was 24 years old, and that was today.
Oh, I thought you said, sorry, I thought you were talking about when this movie came out.
No.
I fucked that up.
Because you're talking about the first time you saw it, and I was like, I'm gonna drop, because I already told you off air. That's like, I just want to like make one thing clear. We don't talk about the movies that we, like, once we've seen them, we don't really talk about them off air much. Like, we don't really discuss like our thoughts on them too much. Like we try and like put it on the mics as much as we can.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, with this movie, man, I first saw this for the first time today. So I have no attachment to this movie. I have zero nostalgia, absolutely nothing. God, what did I think of it? I am okay. Let me just go the roundabout way, because it's a podcast. So let me tell you like a story kind of way. I am sorely lacking in werewolves in my sort of like filmography, like wherever I've seen. I'm very well versed in vampires. Obviously, I know werewolf lore. Like LORE, not LAW, because nothing exists. But I haven't seen very many good like werewolf movies. I mean, off the top of my head, I really want to see An American Werewolf in London. I haven't seen it.
What?
I want to see. Yeah, I know. Fuck me, right? I want to see Teen Wolf. I haven't seen Teen Wolf.
What?
I know, I know. I'm fucking killing you over here. Unfortunately, I've seen Joe Johnston's Wolfman. That's the one that...
I don't mind it, but no, it's out of all of those, it's like, you've seen that one, but it's like, oh my god.
Well, I'll make a comparison to that movie later on in this episode, because this movie's got some of that in this. Yeah, or like the other way around, whatever the fuck. So yeah, man, my werewolf sort of filmography is really, really lacking. That being said, man, I really like I like werewolf mythology. Like in pop culture, it takes basically a werewolf is. If you don't know werewolves by now, then fuck you. Like, I mean, you have to know werewolves, right? I mean, like, even if you haven't seen a movie about werewolves, you have to know, like, once someone gets bitten, they get transformed, and like this kind of like primal sort of state takes them over. They have no control over their bodies. Silver bullets are a thing, so silver bullets can like usually kill a werewolf. Like, it's a thing. So when I watched this movie. The things that really stood out to me was it was I kind of really liked the whole Jack Nicholson's character Will Randall slowly sort of figuring out that something's wrong with him. Not really the end product. Like, look, the special effects and makeup by Rick Baker are fantastic. He's a legend. But I actually preferred the aspects of Will kind of like coming to terms with who he, like, what's happening to him. Just slowly like figuring out that, he's growing hair in like weird places, and no, not his nether regions. Fucking children. I really like that kind of sort of part of it. I really, really dug the... Like, call me old-fashioned and boring, but I really like the whole sort of corporate fucking backstabbing. James Spader's character in this is a slime ball, but I fucking love him.
Dude, he's one of the fucking best parts of this movie, man. He's great.
He is fantastic. By the way, this movie, it's the Joker and Catwoman teaming up against Ultron. Like,
right,
come on, man. That's fucking awesome.
I mean, the names in this movie alone, especially Christopher Plummer, Richard Jenkins? It was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, we talked about Jenkins on the Spotlight episode.
Right, yeah. I was like, holy shit.
Dude, and that's another thing. I had never heard of this movie before you kind of brought it up. I'm gonna, like, when I finish my thoughts, I'm gonna ask you a question. So let me put a pin in that. But, yeah, I'd never heard of this movie, dude, and I was really surprised because, like, it's very rare for me not to hear of a movie starring Jack Nicholson, Michelle Pfeiffer, James Spader, Richard Jenkins, and Christopher Plummer. Like, Christopher Plummer is a fantastic actor. If you haven't seen The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the remake with Daniel Craig, really, really good. And he was just nominated for an Oscar in All the Money in the World, where he replaced Kevin Spacey after all that controversy, but he was really good in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, this as an overall though, I'm not entirely in love with this movie. And maybe that's just because I'm coming into it very late. I have no nostalgia wrapped up in it. I think it's just because everything, like the acting and all that, is great. It's just a lot of it is very straightforward to me, and I think it feels straightforward is because only because we've had so much sort of werewolf coverage in games and movies. I've probably played more werewolf in games than movies. Mm-hmm. So
especially since 1994, there's been so much stuff.
Dude, like that's insane. It's like what, nearly 24 years. Like, it's insane. So I didn't love it. I liked it. Some parts of it, I was like, this is kind of dragging on a little bit. Like, the use of slow motion in this movie is ridiculous. I was like, can we fucking get a move on, please? Yeah,
right. Yeah, I know exactly where you're talking about too.
Oh my god. Yeah, but the question I wanted to pass over to you, Colin, why the fuck did I just spend 2 hours of Jack Nicholson kind of running around looking rabid? Like, tell me why you chose this movie. I mean, like, I know you said it's one of your favorites, but like, you kind of like plucked this out of like thin air, like, because like whenever we kind of finish an episode, like we're always like thinking about the next movie to cover. So you were like, oh, let's go for Wolf, and I was like, what the fuck is that?
I think that's and I mean, not to just like, just cut right in there, but like, it's honestly because I have this weird. I don't know. I guess you can call it almost like a hipsterish kind of thing about movies like this that are like, it's like, do you know that there's a movie with Michelle Pfeiffer and Jack Nicholson where Jack Nicholson is a werewolf? People are like, what?
Oh, I get you.
Like, I've never heard of that before. Or, it's kind of like in the same vein as like Flatliners or like Powder, like movies like that I mean have like a crazy good cast behind them, and people, I mean, Powder's got Jeff Goldblum, Lance Henriksen, Mary Steenburgen. I mean, there's so many people in that movie, and there's a lot of these movies that just kind of get like lost to the wayside especially in the early 90s.
See, I'm glad we have this partnership, because I love discovering new shit like that. I mean, like, even though it's not new, they've been out for fucking years, like decades, but they just get lost in time. Like they just, the actors move on to something bigger and better, or like the movie just kind of like gets, lost in the sand or some shit like that. So I like, when I sat down to watch this, man, I was really keen for it. I was like, because the opening scene alone, like, it's such a good a good way to grab the audience, and I was just like in it, man. Like, we'll get into the movie and where I have problems with it, where it kind of like dies down a little bit, but yeah, man, this movie, it's good. It's not great. Someone said on Instagram that it was underrated. I think it's perfectly rated. Just like, I think it's 6.2 or some shit like that on IMDb. Usually I don't really go by those, but I think that might be sort of accurate. I know that sounds like I'm lowballing it, but
it has the potential to be something a lot more. And
it does.
It seems like it's going somewhere that it never really fulfills.
Right, and it doesn't squander the potential. Like, I think it'll benefit a bit more if it wasn't so romance driven. But I mean, look, the chemistry between Nicholson and Pfeiffer is actually pretty good. So I'm really glad that they kind of use that. But dude, I kind of got to put it at the top here. I got bored so quickly of Jack Nicholson's wolf puns or dog puns.
Oh, like, yeah, absolutely.
I've been a good boy. Oh, good God, man, they're brutal.
Right. Especially right off the top, some of his first dialogue is, "I begged." It's like, dude, like, I mean, we get it. Like, I can understand dropping one like once or twice here or there, just kind of like a bit of a pun, bit of a joke. But it's like, especially once he doesn't know that he's a wolf, it's like, oh, maybe that's like a kind of like, oh, that's a little bit of foreshadowing. Maybe he begged. Yeah. I see that. But like doing it. But
then he's like, when he's in on the joke, like,
right, it gets very old very quickly. But yeah. I really, there's something about this movie, and it's not just the fact that it has, and this name might mean nothing to you, David Hyde Pierce. He plays Roy.
Yeah, from Frasier.
Yeah, from Frasier. Okay, awesome. I didn't know how familiar you were with Frasier. I grew up with that.
I've never seen an episode, but I know it.
Okay, I grew up with it. It was always on right before Seinfeld at 6 o'clock, Monday through Friday. And I watched a lot of it. I still watch it. It's on Netflix. And it's one of the few sitcoms that I can actually sit down and still watch. I try to watch stuff like Home Improvement or things that I grew up with in the 90s like that. And they're awful. There's just only so few of them that really still transcend that. And Seinfeld is one. And Frasier is kind of. It doesn't. It's still a little bit lagging. But besides the fact that it has David Hyde Pierce in it, who's great. I love him. I love David Hyde Pierce in everything.
Have you seen Wet Hot American Summer?
I think like the first 10 minutes of it. I don't think I ever finished it.
Oh, okay. He's good. He's good in that. It's fucking. They are ridiculous movie. It's a show on Netflix and a movie, and they're fucking ridiculous. But they're stupid funny. Like, they're actually pretty funny.
But there's something about this movie that reminds me a lot of Frasier. It has a lot to do with I guess almost like the upper echelons of society. It has a lot of people, in black who probably go to black tie events and go to the opera and have brunch and very professional kind of jobs, and everyone's very especially with the fact that this is an editing house. There's a lot of, I feel like it's very artistic in a way, which is just kind of like a general saying of the word, but it kind of has this very highbrow kind of feel to it. There's a lot of people that, we're meeting with the executive of a company. I'm the editor-in-chief of an entire publishing house, and what looks to be one of the biggest publishing houses. I think they live in New York. Isn't that right?
Yeah, it looks, you definitely get shots of the Empire State Building, so yeah, okay. It's definitely New York, yeah.
So it feels very upscale and that kind of thing. So it's awesome to see that kind of juxtaposed with an animalistic side. In a weird way, it's almost kind of like Predator 2. We have like this wild thing in the concrete jungle, which I think is awesome.
Is that really a movie you want to compare this to, though?
Oh, well, no, I'm not going to lie. I like both these movies about the same. I know a lot of people hate hate Predator 2, but I like it.
I'm probably going to agree with you. Yeah, I actually do agree with you. In terms of quality, they're probably about the same. I don't like Predator 2. I think it's okay. So same with this, I guess.
Right. Yeah. I think that it's interesting just to see all these people. Because one thing, all of the people around Will Randall just seem so fake. That so many of them are fake and just oh yes, I'll see you at squash, Richard. They kind of it's almost like bit
an American Psycho thing.
Thank
right?
you. I was just about to say a bit of fucking Patrick Bateman in everybody. Yeah. But as I like seeing them. This is somebody who's probably grown up in this. Will Randall probably went to a good college, and he has a great job and he's well respected. But at the same time, seeing this kind of seeing the change in him and seeing that. All these things that I feel like he's worked so hard to be, he is kind of, he enjoys them, but he seems very disinterested with them by the end of it. He even says at one point, I haven't made love in so long, basically he hasn't been living it up. He's been work, and your reputation and your respect and blah, blah, blah. But he hasn't been living really, he's just kind of been going through the motions, which is what I took from it. And it's kind of why I feel like he doesn't have a problem with this thing taking him over. He does it, he doesn't really know what's going on, but he never really seems horrified by it.
He doesn't seem that bothered by it. I think maybe that was, see, you're looking at it, I really love these episodes because you do tend to give me a different sort of perspective on the movies that I'm sort of newly introduced to, because I didn't. That was a problem for me with this movie. He didn't seem too fazed by it. Sure, he goes and seeks out the doctor. The writer or whatever, the Indian guy. Mm-hmm. And when he sees the hairs and shit like that, he does try and cover it up. But he doesn't. I mean, he really doesn't seem too fazed.
Right,
and that was a problem to me. Yeah. But I'm really glad you brought up that point, actually.
Yeah, because it's giving him a chance to live. It's giving him a chance to, as he's getting older. Obviously, you always see him, wearing the glasses, and or you're having trouble, especially waking up. That it always seems like there's a lot of this. He seems like a very tired old man at the beginning of this. He plays that very well, and especially as time goes on. And we see the more of the animal side start coming out of him. It's great because he's got just this carelessness. He's kind of got this whatever come what may kind of mentality, because he's I know something that you don't know. And I think that's really cool. But it's not until much later on that we get kind of his, oh my God, what the fuck is going on, when it starts to hurt people around him and strangers. Which it seems right. If he were not trying to get a grip on this thing and he was out just murdering people left and right, he's oh whatever, no big deal. It would just, I could see that being a much worse movie. But I like the way that this goes, because also, who do you approach? Who do you go to? You go to a doctor and tell him, hey, I think I wake up in the middle of the night and turn into a half werewolf and go hunt down deer in the middle of day for night shots. Like, I don't really know, like, like, I don't really know what to, who would you tell, you know? But I mean,
that's true. I guess I'd go to a church. I don't fucking know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, without any ado, let's just go ahead and jump right into this bitch.
Let's get into this bitch. Dude, before you start with this opening scene, and before you say it, because I know you're going to, this is The Shining, right? Like,
oh, right, dude. I honestly, I was not going to say that. I wasn't even thinking about it.
Okay. Because it's like he's driving, like, it's like The Shining mixed with Misery.
Oh, yeah. Holy shit. Wow. That's you would figure me being the bigger King fan that I would have caught that, but it's like, well, nope, not at all.
Well, it started and I was like, oh, Collin. Jesus, Collin is having he's fucking masturbating to this. Like, he's like, he's just
I was, but not for the same reasons.
Oh, you stopped. Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, Michelle Pfeiffer. I mean, come
yes.
on.
Dude, but she looks amazing. Like, we'll get to it later, but there are moments, man, when I was like, she was the perfect choice to play Catwoman.
Oh,
like,
God, yeah. That's like perfect casting to the max, man.
Oh, dude, I didn't even realize it until, like, I watched this.
Yeah, like I would have, you know, she has just, I mean, not only very like almost like feline features, very, you know, bright, colorful eyes, and, you know, very like pointed kind of angles, but just she kind of has this like walk. She has this
just like she moves.
It's excellent,
and her voice. Yeah, but we'll get to her, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, basically, we just start with this with the opening credits. A lot of names right out the bat: James Spader, Richard Jenkins, Michelle Pfeiffer, Jack Nicholson, Christopher Plummer. Did you catch who does the music, Zoheb?
Yes, I did. Ennio Morricone. Holy shit, dude!
I knew you weren't going to miss that. I fucking knew it.
No, I don't. See, especially for movies that I'm being introduced to and watching for the first time at this age, I usually do watch these opening credits. Like, I know a lot of people don't. That our age, like, people just don't watch them. But man, I do, for sure, especially director of photography and music. And written by. And obviously, probably by the time I've seen it, I know who's directing it. So, yeah, man. Holy shit. Ennio Morricone, The Thing, and Hateful Eight. Like, the guy's a fucking legend when it comes to music.
Yeah. It's like, dude, that... Because I think he did Django as well, didn't he?
Yeah. Oh, he did parts of Django. He didn't do the entire Django score, but yeah. He's yeah, I'm pretty sure he's known for his westerns as well, like the Spaghettis. But I'll confirm. I'm trying to confirm that. I don't want to. Yeah, Sergio Leone movies. Yeah, so the spaghetti westerns.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah. Also, I mean, fucking Rick Baker, as we were talking about. I mean, just a little bit, in case you don't know who Rick Baker is. The Howling, American Werewolf in London, Star Wars, The Exorcist, Starman, Into the Night, Videodrome, the Thriller video, Coming to America, Gremlins 2, The Rocketeer, Batman Forever, The Frighteners, Men in Black, Ghost. I mean, it just goes on and on.
Yeah, man. Everyone knows Stan Winston, but Rick Baker is fucking awesome too.
Right. There's like the holy trinity of like Rob Bottin, Rick Baker, and Stan Winston. Like, those three guys are just unstoppable. But yeah, I love these. I love these first opening shots, and the fact that there's no dialogue in this whole scene. Nothing, and we immediately get the action. We don't know anything about Will Randall's life. It's almost genius, because in a lot of werewolf movies, we're going to see him live his life. You know, go into his house, say hello to his spouse. You know, or say hello to his kids, and see his whole life, and see him at his job, and then he gets bitten, and then we see the deterioration of those things. But it's almost genius in a way, because we see him get bit through the scene, and then, you know, because it's going to take time for this thing to start kind of taking him over. And why not use the time that we're going to spend building his life and building these things up, and have that taking...
Yeah, well, I was going to say finding out about his life afterwards.
Right.
It's fucking great. It's
right, yeah. We get a lot of shit set up very quickly in this movie. But I love the shot of him like hitting it. I was like, man, I feel like this is going to be a lot lamer than I remember it. I was afraid it was just going to look really cheesy.
It's pretty effective.
Yeah. The only thing, you know, basically, you know, Will Randall hits this wolf, goes out, pokes it with a stick, which is a great idea. Poke it with a stick. That's great. I'm sorry. I get it. This guy, I mean, it's nice, get out, check on the animal, you know, because Lindsay and I were watching this. She's like, why doesn't he just leave it in the road? And I was like, yeah, why doesn't he just leave it in the road? I was like, well, I guess in case anybody else hits it, you know, that would send him flying off and fucking kill him probably.
I guess it's also one of those movie things as well, right?
Right, yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, yeah. Like he has to go out there.
And I think he's also kind of intrigued that he's seeing an actual wolf in this area, because like whenever he brings up, oh, I was bitten by a wolf, and everyone else is like, no, there's no wolves in this area. Like I don't know that because I'm not from around there. But,
right, yeah, I don't know. I don't know either. I've never seen a wolf. I live in the South. Yeah. But I love, you know, basically Will gets bitten trying to move the animal. I love, just as soon as he even puts hands on that thing, it just snaps up on him. It doesn't let him get, you know, I love that it just snaps up on him immediately. But the wolf falls off, you know, Will gets back in the car and drives away. And this is where we see, you know, I think there's actually more than one wolf as he's retreating to the car.
Yeah, I was taken aback by that. I was like, is there more? And it turns out there is.
Right, it's kind of tricky to see. I fucking hate the way this wolf looks at him as he drives off. It looks terrible.
It looks weird. Yeah, it looks weird. I mean, like, I guess they're trying to do like this sort of animatronic thing, and it ends up being a little too, I don't know, a little too robotic looking. I'd say. Oh
God, yes, man. Because I'm like, just give me a silhouette of a wolf. You know, I'm fine with that. Give me something. Cool. Right, I don't need to see this thing having a Yoda pondering moment. Like it literally, it looks like it's pontificating. Like,
but they really want us to see the eyes, I think, for later.
Right, yeah, but that's another thing. It's like I've seen the thing on the ground. It like opens up an eye at him as it's pulling it. Like I've seen the eye. Like I get it. I'm like, oh God, it's fucking
By the way, he does it. You haven't seen the new Jurassic World, have you?
No.
Oh, good. Don't. But he does this thing where it's like, I'm going to spoil Jurassic Park for you. I mean, do you care? It's not really that major.
I mean, I don't give a fuck. Somebody listening might, but I don't give a fuck.
Well, fucking somebody listening, you can skip forward next 30 seconds. Literally, there's a scene where like they knock out this crazy ass fucking raptor, and like he stupidly goes into the cage with him, and the raptor is like playing him. Like he opens his eyes and looks at the camera like this does, and then he closes his eyes like in time for so the character doesn't see. And that's what this kind of reminded me of. Like the wolf is like opening its eye and like just kind of like, hey, I'm still alive, but I don't want this guy to know that I'm still alive.
But I want you to know it, audience.
Yeah.
And this is where we see a bit of Will Randall's life. He's basically in Vermont having somebody sign these contracts. You know, I begged. You know, that's that whole great joke, which I know you love so much. But basically, Will Randall is editor-in-chief of McLeish House, publishing house in New York. I mean, I obviously it's fictional, but I mean, seems like a pretty well-to-do place. I mean, I walking through it, it's like there's so much wood, and that's not the first time I've said that sentence, but in a totally different context. Like throughout the whole. I mean, publishing office. Like I love the architecture of this place. Actually, I would love to work there.
It's very old school.
Right, yeah, it looks great, especially with just everything being linoleum and fluorescent lighting these days. Like it's like, wow, that place has some class, man. I'm
thinking that maybe they'll have a termite problem because there's so much wood.
Oh my God, yeah, they just come to work one day and it just falls down.
This is the only time we've talked about wood and not penis-wise, but
yeah, right. I had to make that distinction earlier on.
I know. I was like, come on, man, that's low-hanging fruit. It's like right there.
Speaking of low-hanging fruit, ew.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, basically, we're meeting Roy, who's played by David Hyde Pierce, and we're meeting Will's secretary Mary, who's played by oh God, I had her name, Eileen Atkins.
She's boring as fuck.
Yeah, she is. She looks like a Hogwarts instructor. Like she definitely seems like someone who would know how to cast some Expelliarmus.
How dare you sully Harry Potter? How dare you?
Well, she basically, this is where they're talking about this deal with Alden that's been going on. Will thinks he has a doctor's appointment. Some of this old man shit, like we were talking about. He's kind of forgetting things.
I like. I mean, these two are loyal to him, Like, I like it. You know, if you get the axe, then I'm coming with you. And basically, Jack Nicholson's like, no, you need a salary, you stay. And I like these two because they kind of like contrast the fake nice that Spader's character is.
Yeah, right. And his own wife. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ, that's brutal.
Yeah.
But dude, Jack Nicholson, he's always been an actor that's kind of scared me, and I don't know if it's from The Shining, and I don't know if it's from his portrayal as the Joker. Like, just his face as an actor,
He's
as a
maniacal.
person, he looks scary. Like, even I know he's trying to be nice here, but like, he's always been a scary looking dude to me.
Right, as his eyebrows come up in that natural point that like I think that's why Stephen King actually had a problem with him in The Shining. He said that, you know, Jack Nicholson, he said, I think literally most of his problems were with, I mean, not only the story, but with Jack Nicholson, because he looks so maniacal. He's like, I don't, you know, we kind of need to sympathize with Jack. We're not going to sympathize with him if he's this axe-wielding murderer, you know, that he kind of becomes. So, I mean, apparently Stephen King thinks the same thing. He's like, yeah, he's a creepy-looking motherfucker, dude.
He totally is, man. I'm like Michelle Pfeiffer. What are you doing with this crazy lunatic?
Yeah, where's Michael Keaton? Come on, dude. Which is another interesting little.
Let's get nuts.
Yeah, I love that. You know, basically Nicholson's Batman. You know, Michelle Pfeiffer's a Batman Returns. I was like, okay, cool. Yeah. This is awesome. Which I mean, this is '94. It's not that far. Not that far beyond it.
2 years. I checked. It's 2 years after Batman Returns.
Right. But yeah, this is where they basically start talking about, you know, Raymond Alden is, you know, I guess some type of billionaire who's taking over the McLeish house. And you know, it kind of happens when somebody takes over a business, there's going to be some shakeups, kind of like with Liev Schreiber's character taking over in Spotlight, which we just covered. You know, somebody takes over, they kind of start shifting things around the way that they want them. And basically he's throwing a big party to let people know if they have their jobs or not. I love Roy's line. Don't you think that's a bit Roman? Yeah, just to let people know if they have a job or not.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I love all this. And basically, like you said, they you know, if they get the axe tonight, they're going to go with him. He says, no, you need your paychecks. You know, like you said, we see that closeness between them. That's great. And also, you know, Maud Wagons is in your... What a name, Maud Wagons.
Dude, when I saw this actress, so... I don't know. I watched this show called Fawlty Towers. It's this very old British show starring John Cleese. Really, really fucking funny. Like all British shows, like it was only like 3 seasons, and it was only like 6 episodes each or some shit like that. But man, so this actress's name is Prunella Scales, and she plays John Cleese's wife, and she's great in that show, man. Like, when I saw her in this, I was like, what? No way. You gotta check that show out, man. It's dated, but man, the humor absolutely holds up. It's British as shit.
Yeah, this woman seems kind of insufferable to me. I don't think I could be around her for very long.
No. And she plays the exact same character in fucking Fawlty Towers, man. She's totally insufferable, but that's the joke.
Right, yeah. But I mean, she plays it well, so I mean, there's a reason why we don't like her.
Totally.
She does it well. But basically, you know, she's going on about, you know, she's saying she can't write for McLeish House. You know, I can't write for a conglomerate. You'll have to protect me. And this is where Will reveals, you know, yeah, I might not even be here after the takeover. And, you know, he's like, well, basically the plan is, and this is where things really kind of get fucked up for Will. Will's plan is, you know, if I get the axe tonight, I know of a few people who will go with me, including our head of marketing, which is James Spader. And if, you know, since I know they don't want to lose him, I assume it'll give me some kind of leverage. And she says the same thing. I'll leave with you too. How's that for leverage? They go and we're actually introduced to James Spader. What a marvelous set of lips to kiss that ass with, James Spader. Like, Jesus, what? I mean, I mean, it made me cringe, and I was like, Jesus, dude, like, basically, you know, he meets Maud Wagons, you know, sucks her cock real hard. But I do like the joke, you know, where he's, you know, he's basically kissing ass to her, and she's like, oh, wow, you know, and I love Will. He says, well, you know, I taught him how to do that. Yes, before I met Will, I just used to punch my authors in the side of the head. And I'm like, that's actually a funny joke. Dude, I do like that.
Spader in this is fucking fantastic. Like,
dude, he's a great villain in everything, man.
I need to see him in more shit. Like, I mean, he was in the Office. He came into it around season 8 and season 9. He played their CEO, and man, I can listen to him read a book. Like,
oh yeah,
his voice is fantastic. And when they chose him for Ultron, I was like, yes, make it fucking happen. Make it so, Marvel.
Dude, have you ever seen Less Than Zero?
No, I haven't. I do want to see Boston Legal, but yeah. I haven't got around to it.
Less Than Zero is great. It's it's the same author of American Psycho, Bret Easton Ellis.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Dude, it's got fucking Robert Downey Jr. in it and like a shit ton of people. It's a great movie. It's a little depressing, but either way, that's their plan. You know, the head of marketing will leave, Maude Wagons will leave, Will Randall will leave. And this, you know, we're just basically getting things set up here. We're meeting James Spader. You know, he's extremely charming. He's almost got that way. His charm is just on all the time. It's just kind of like that annoying, you know, bit like where obviously he's just kind of like kissing ass. But it's what an impressive head of hair on that dude. I was like, Jesus, man. Like I mean, obviously it's coming from a bald guy, but still, I was like, damn, that is one fucking solid head of hair. But
he's bald now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, totally. He looks wildly different now.
Yeah.
But this is where we cut over to Alden's party, where we're you know, basically everyone's just kind of standing around. You know, it seems like the elite kind of you know, of this circle. I love the introduction to Raymond Alden, played by Christopher Plummer.
Colin, just quickly, you went past the doctor's office.
Oh yeah, where he gives him the rabies shot.
Yeah, there's nothing too important here. Basically, yeah, he just gives him the rabies shot. And the doctor doesn't believe him. He's like, "Are you sure it wasn't a husky or a German shepherd?" And he's like, "No, it was definitely a wolf." But I love the way that scene ends. No, you idiot! He's got brain damage.
Right? Yeah. He's talking about a kid who got bit by a snake, and he says he has brain damage. Is he all right?
Yeah.
Who? Your friend's son? No, he has brain damage. You idiot!
Jesus Christ!
The humor in this is good. It's subtle.
It's weird. It's really subtle. Weird humor. Like it's subtle and like, but at the same time, like in your face, like the fucking shitty like dog jokes.
Right, yeah, those, it's awful. But I like this as we're at Alden's party where we're introduced to Christopher Plummer, and this woman's like, I don't think of Time Warmer. It's just another, you know, global conglomerate, you know, and basically she says that, you know, that wealth doesn't always imply ruthless ambition. Am I wrong, Mr. Alden? He's like, yes, I'd say so, you know, and he's, you know, obviously very charming. All these people have this kind of bullshit societal charm to them, you know, that they, yeah, laugh and nod and blah, blah, blah.
This gave me cancer.
You know who almost played Raymond Alden and was interested in it?
I think I saw something. Shit, I can't remember it now. Who was it?
Marlon Brando.
Oh shit, man, he would have been like fat as shit and
right,
like,
dude, yeah, not for this movie. Like '94, the early '90s were real weird for Marlon Brando.
Weird as fuck.
But also at the same time, there was actually a bit of a script change where Raymond Alden's character was basically just going to be Laura Alden's older brother and not her father. And they were looking at Mick Jagger to the point where Mick Jagger was like meeting with them, and they had to go and tell Mick Jagger no. They're like, we're going to make him an older dad. Like,
what are you saying right now, Colin?
Right. I'm not kidding, dude.
What?
Like they really were in talks with Mick Jagger for him to play Raymond Alden if he were an older brother type character, not the father. And I was like, holy
That's
shit.
fucking ridiculous.
Right, yeah. I never thought that you know, what three, you know, Christopher Plummer, Mick Jagger, and Marlon Brando all competed for what role? You'd be like, what? Is this my double Jeopardy question? What the fuck?
Fucking, I feel like you just told me like a dream you had. Like, it's fucking ridiculous.
Right, yeah, it sounds so crazy. It's like a crazy desert island dream. But this fucking bit of dialogue that Will has here at the party is nuts. Like the mini monologue, I guess, that he does.
It's weird. There's a couple of these in the movie.
Yeah, he just kind of has these moments where he just waxes poetic and like it sounds like some kind of like mystic. I don't really know. I don't really know a better way to describe it than he's trying to seem some kind of like whimsical. But basically, well, you could make they're talking about the rainforest and everything getting, you know, all these viruses being let out and the world will end if we have no rainforest and blah, 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 blah. But I love his thing. Well, you could make a case that the world has already ended, that art is dead, and that we are exhausted. That instead of art, we have pop culture, daytime TV. We have pop culture, daytime TV, gay senior citizens, women who've been raped by their dentist confiding to Oprah, and look in depth as to why women cut their husband's penis off. I was like, Christ.
I was like, did he channel the Joker into this fucking performance?
I was like, God so damn. Weird. Like, it is really weird. And not only is it obviously talking about, I mean, some of those things I do agree with. You know, you've got pop culture instead of art, you know, like there's a lot of that. I was like, oh, okay. But it starts off as kind of like, wow, this guy really is going to say something. And then it just takes this whole fucking left turn. You're like, holy shit.
Pretty woke movie for its time.
Right, yeah, and I love, you know, I think that's also a reflection of Will Randall as a character. He's kind of a better old man, you know, what he thinks of things. But this is where, you know, we finally get the conversation between Nicholson and Plummer, where, you know, they're discussing the fate of Will Randall's career.
He nagged me until I gave him your job.
Right, but here's my thing: how are we to know that that's Stewart right away? Like, do we just assume? Like,
no, I think we don't know yet. I think Jack kind of like, from what he knows about Stewart, or like has a hunch about, like he's like, okay, so it's probably him.
See, I
think
that's always been one of my biggest questions to this movie. I'm like, how does he know that? Like, I guess maybe their chain of command is, you know, head of marketing goes to editor in chief. I have no idea. But this is where they offer Will a job in Eastern Europe, basically, or covering Eastern. I don't know if he's moving or if he's just having to cover it. It's not really that important. Basically, he doesn't want the fucking job. And like he says later, I've been offered a job between a no job or a job that no one would want. And basically, seeing as how I'm too old to be I'm still too young to be jobless, I'm going to have to take the job that nobody wants. And this is obviously a huge step down for the editor in chief of a large publishing house. But their chemistry here is great. I fucking love it. You know, him basically saying, you know, obviously, you know, it's nothing personal, Will. It's, you know, you're a man of great taste and individuality, but unfortunately in the corporate landscape, taste and individuality are somewhat of a handicap. And I love his response. He says, well, on what grounds did you choose my predecessor? On vulgarity and conformity? And I'm like, oh, that's fucking great. That's I like that it's kind of talky. It doesn't have a problem having some bigger dialogue, and I can see why this doesn't appeal to a lot of people. It's not an action-packed movie, you know?
Again, these are the moments that I really liked. Like the whole backstabby sort of corporate shit. Like I really like these parts. And like talking and dialogue holds up a lot better than special effects.
Right, yeah, especially when you have two of the best actors of all time, Jack Nicholson and Christopher Plummer, like we're standing side by side. Like, that's great. But even Will plays the corporate kind of bullshit as well. You know, he gives him the cigar and he tells him, hey, you might want to put that out. It's going to bother the horses. And, you know, the show horses that they have. He's like, I think I'll keep it. And as soon as he walks off, he fucking pitches it. You know, he even kind of plays himself up a little bit. But basically, this is where we first kind of get some inkling that something's going on with Will. You know, they have these show horses that there's race horses that they're showing off. And,
they go wild.
Yeah, they go fucking crazy around Will. And he kind of slinks off from the party, and, you know, it seems like he's fucking having a stroke or like a heart attack. And what does Michelle Pfeiffer...
Seems like he has to chuck a massive shit.
Right, but what's Michelle Pfeiffer's remedy? She's like, here's some liquor. Finish drinking this. Like, I mean, I guess, but I think... I'd love it if he were like, I'm having a heart attack. And she's like, here, drink this. He's like, I got a med bracelet. Stop.
he's like, I'm fucking dying here, bitch. Like,
right, yeah.
Can you get me a doctor or an ambulance or something? Like, you know?
Right, yeah.
But did you like I really like the little touch of him, like, covering up the hairs, like the bandage. Like, it's not...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like we don't get like a scene of him like wrapping it up. I don't think, and it's just literally like when he drinks from the glass, you can just like see the bandage, and I was like, oh, that's a cool touch. Did we go past that?
No, I mean Roy says something to him. He's like, what happened to your hand? He's like, I got bit by a wolf. He's like, sorry, I asked. You know, I guess he plays it.
Yeah.
They kind of announce it, but it's played off as a
We've
joke,
talked about it. We've talked about it. Fuck that. But dude, that first shot of Michelle Pfeiffer sitting down, I fell in love again.
Oh God!
She is she's so beautiful. I love you.
Yeah,
Marry
even
me.
dude, even still,
today.
I mean, yeah, I was to say there was a movie she did with Zac Efron. I can't remember what movie this was, and Zac Efron was like, he was like, by the end of it, I very much so had a crush on Michelle Pfeiffer. He's like, and she's like 40 years older than me.
She's in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and she looks great. She was in Mother last year with Ed Harris, and they got it on. If you want to see that,
Yeah, if you want to take a gander at old Ed Harris.
Oh Jesus!
But yeah, this is where we first get introduced to Laura Alden. This is the beginning of her relationship with Will Randall. She offers him the drink. It never really says what her profession is, but I guess it's in some kind of medical field. She says half the people around me are on Thorazine, so your mild anxiety attack barely rouses my, blah blah blah.
That didn't look mild though. I'm sorry. He was like clutching his chest and like sweating profusely.
Yeah, he's like slinked off into some bushes.
Door.
Right, he's like an animal. He's like an animal going away to die, and you're like, oh, here.
He literally slinked through the hedges like a fucking monster, and he sat down like a decrepit old man on the stairs. And that's mild to you? What the
right,
fuck?
exactly. Who the fuck are you hanging out with? That's why I assume she's in some kind of medical field, or she's a nurse or a doctor. I'm not sure, but
she's hanging out with Mick Jagger. All that coke.
Oh hell yeah. But this is and again this dialogue. Do what?
The tit grab.
Yeah, the tit. I thought you said dick grab. I was like, dick grab?
Oh. Probably not yet.
Yeah, not yet. But yeah, I love this. This whole scene between them. He's saying I was offered a job that no one would want. I can't be jobless at my age. And I love when he falls on her. And he kind of accidentally gropes her, and she's so was that on purpose? He's like, no, you're perfectly fine. I'm a married man. She's like, and that makes you perfectly fine. He's like, well, yeah. Yeah, he's like, I love
the
that
dialogue is actually pretty solid all throughout, kind of thing. Like the dialogue, not the writing. I want to make that clear.
Mm-hmm.
The dialogue,
right? The performances and the dialogue are great. Like, especially when she's like, "What are you, the last civilized man on Earth?" And he kind of is. Like he's old school, man. He's got some standards and practices. And I like that. And we see that really kind of clash, obviously, with James Spader's character, because it's someone who would slit the throat of anybody to get like up another step, and Will Randall
just
doesn't
wants to
strike
climb
me.
the ladder,
right?
Yeah.
Will confronts Stewart. It says that basically, congratulations, you're the new editor-in-chief of McLeish House. God, James Spader's reaction, it's so great when you see an actor playing like fake, and he's like, what? He said that? Like oh my God, it's so good. He plays somebody who's faking so fucking well.
I love to hate him. Dude, well, you said it earlier, man. Jack Nicholson is one of the greatest actors on the planet, but man, I would honestly give like James Spader gives a run for Jack Nicholson's money here. Like it is insane. Like he's okay. Take away the wolf part later. I'm not really vibing the whole James Spader wolf at the end.
Yeah, I'm
but
glad
we'll
you
get
said
to
that.
that.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, man, this whole corporate greed, like climbing the ladder. I'm young. I want to get ahead in life. Like, that's fucking awesome, man. He plays it so fucking well.
Right, yeah. This guy could have subbed in for Pat Bateman anytime. Like, I mean, like, dude, this guy could totally be Patrick Bateman.
You see that? That's Bone.
Yeah.
Sicilian Rail.
Oh man, that's such a good scene. Especially the one where they do Pokemon cards instead of that one's really great.
I'll say that.
But yeah, and I just don't want to go past the scene for one thing on the drive home as she's asking him, that son of a bitch, it must have been hard to turn down Alden's offer, but I mean, he could have told you. She's like, I had no idea, that he was wanting your job. And Will even says, why would you? And it kind of foreshadows, like, why would you know that? Like, because you're banging
catching
him?
that now
like,
because I've only seen it once.
Right. He's like, why would you know that? He kind of calls it out right there. And this is, moving on, we get this other instance of Will, another kind of, I think this is when the metamorphosis really kicks in. It's almost like a gustation kind of thing. Like, what does he sleep? He sleeps for like 12 hours. He says 20 later on, but I guess he goes back to sleep that night later on. I don't know. But either way, he sleeps for, straight up. No. He sleeps for like 20 hours straight. Only waking up. I love this. She sets the alarm. Give me till 8, and she comes back in.
How good are these cuts? But I really like these cuts. Also, if that's your fucking alarm, throw that shit out.
Right?
As if you're gonna wake up to that in the morning, every fucking morning. I wake up...
It's like, oh my God, dude. Like,
good Lord. I'm sorry, headphone listeners, for that loud noise that Colin just... I just put on some music, but you know what? I'm sure, obviously they didn't have iPhones back then, but you can literally probably get something a little more soothing.
oh God, yeah, dude. Like, I mean, I can't even stand the sound of like the iPhone.
Yeah,
like,
I set my own. Like, it's just a song.
I hear that now and I have a fucking panic attack. But this is where we start seeing the things with Will kind of take hold, the wolf part of things. You know, we've seen enough of the day-to-day life of Will Randall. Now we're getting into some of the supernatural things. I like that. I do like the shift. It does a good job of like kind of shifting things, but at some points it stays on things for too long. And I think had it gone on any longer at the beginning of this movie, we had seen something else about the corporate side of things, it would have been like, okay, dude, show me some wolf shit. Like, they come in really well at the beginning. Maybe not so much later on, but they come in really well at the beginning with this wolf stuff. You know, with him freaking out the horses, and then when he comes home, he's like a sex machine. You know, they're eating dinner, and he even says, you know, I haven't slept in a very long time. You know, and it basically, I guess this kind of like rekindles their relationship. I assume it's just one of those things where they just fell into a rut. You know, the habit of things. So Will and his wife bang like animals, and then we show him in the bathroom afterwards, and that cut on his hand, or the bite on his hand, he's just now seeing, and it's covered in hair. Like, that is fucking gross, man. Like, that is gross as shit.
The makeup is fantastic.
Yeah, like oh my God, and just like I can understand not being too freaked out by it. I mean, you do grow hair on your hand. I guess I understand that, but
yeah, but not like that. I mean, I'd start freaking out. I would. Oh, I don't. You know what? I'd go straight to the doctor. I'd just be like, "What the fuck? I just fucked my wife. What did she give me?"
Right. Apparently, she's been fucking some James Spader wolf dick. Yeah. Name of the podcast now: James Spader wolf dick.
That's the name of a band.
Yeah. Right. But and part of me wonders, why don't you call the doctor? And I'm like, dude, I think, you know, he's, like I said, he slept for 20 hours. His obviously his like sexual drive is back up. He's probably like brimming with some testosterone now. He's like, dude, I feel great. You know, I feel wonderful. And he even says later on, you know, nobody who feels this great has a tumor, you know, like when they're trying to figure out what's going on. I don't want to go by my favorite scene in the movie, him walking past Gary in the hallway, and he's how the fuck do you drink tequila this early? How the fuck did you know? Are you kidding? You could smell it from a mile away.
See, it's shit like this in vampire and wolf movies that I really like. I like the transformation into like the creature, but I really like when like the characteristics of the monster like start to show up as you're still a human being. Right. Like, I fucking love that, man.
And yeah, and even Dr. Vijay Alazeus, the kind of, I guess if you want to call him, for lack of a better term, the mystic, you know, the man that...
Of course is fucking Indian.
Right, of course. The one person who knows about this that he finds through the McLeish house, he even says, you know, the wolf comes out at night but sleeps during the day, but he's always present. Like, I like that. You know, this is not something that... and they never say the word werewolf. I love that. I love the fact that we never actually say that he's a werewolf, because he does... This is like... It's almost like this is like the preface to what will become Will Randall's story of just becoming the wolf. Because I think we're seeing him transitioning into it. Like, he's becoming... basically slowly but surely turning more and more. You know, at first it's just kind of like his sensory things, but then he actually starts growing out, you know, the fangs and the eyes. And I love that.
Once you attach the name werewolf, like, you start attaching other things to it as well, like, oh, like, why didn't Michelle Pfeiffer's gun have silver bullets in him, like, in it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so to not have it as a werewolf is smart, I think. Right. I mean, like, we know that it's a werewolf, but you don't need to outright say it.
Right, exactly, yeah. And it kind of takes things away from it. Like, a werewolf is a half man, half werewolf. Like, no, this is like an obliteration of your humanity. Like, you will become a wolf. Like, you will be an animal. Like, it kind of turns things up a notch, and I really like that. You know, this is where Will kind of freaks out. He sees, you know, he's hearing things from all over the building. being able to smell the tequila on Gary. He's reading and kind of proofreading a manuscript without his glasses on. I love David Hyde Pierce in that scene. He's like, you've edited 60 pages of this manuscript since Monday. What do you want? Like, he's just kind of like, what drugs do you want? And he says, nothing. I've just, I got 20 hours of sleep. And I love David Hyde Pierce, so now you can read without your glasses. It's like, it's obvious. He's like, dude, obviously, something's up.
David Hyde Pierce doesn't find that weird. The guy slept for 20 fucking hours and he's fine. Like, dude, okay, this is just me. And I don't want to brag, but like I need 8 hours. Like if I get less than 8 hours, then I'm fucking drowsy as shit. If I get more than 8 hours, I'm drowsy as shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a thing, and I'm pretty sure it's like studies have shown, like it's like scientifically like proven that oversleeping like often tends to lead you to being tired throughout the day. Like that's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So like this fucking asshole slept for 20 days. I would be a zombie. Like,
20 days, yeah. He slept for 20 hours.
Sorry, 20 hours. My bad. Jesus
you
Christ,
sleep for 20 days. You are fucking dead.
You're dead. Yeah, your heart stopped beating. You are fucking in a coma.
Mm-hmm. Well, not fucking in a coma. That would be awesome, though. But
yeah, that would be awesome. I'm sure there's a porno out there.
Oh yeah. But yeah, this is where basically he kind of starts not freaking out, but he's like, okay, I need to call my doctor, and I like this. It's logical. You would call the doctor at this point. You're starting to like, okay, what the fuck is going on? Well, no, actually, he doesn't call the doctor. He gets a hold of Gary to basically, I think he's still trying to solve this on his own. He is being somewhat proactive about it. He's like, okay, something's up.
Slightly.
Right, yeah. And this is where they tell him about Dr. Vijay Alazeus. He wrote a book, something wild.
Dr. Zayas.
Dude, I'm so glad you said that, dude. Okay, thank you, man. I was, Dr. Zayas. I was like, oh my God, I couldn't get it out of my head.
Oh, Jesus.
But I love this conversation between them. Again, he's not some mystic out of the jungle, is he? He's like, no, he's got a string of letters after his name. In fact, he's Dr. Alazeus.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
But basically, he's setting up this interview with Dr. Alazeus, who's written a book. I love what he says. He's like a book on animal possession. He's like, no, not animal possession. Animal possession. Like he says the same thing again, but he just means it differently. He's like the possession of the spirit of a demonic kind of entity. Gary's
I love this way. I love the way the conversation ends.
Oh, dude, yeah, that's so. He's like, and Gary, yeah, don't tell people you had a drop of coffee with your tequila. You didn't have any coffee this morning.
And he checks the bottom of the phone and looks at the roof.
Dude, that's so good. Sorry, I said a drop of coffee with your tequila. A drop of tequila with your coffee. Which, that sounds disgusting, dude. Like, coffee and tequila?
The other way was right.
Oh, what? Either or. Like, that's disgusting,
Actually,
man.
I hate tequila. Fuck tequila.
No.
I'm a bourbon person.
Put some whiskey in that shit and some Baileys. Call it some Irish coffee, man. That's what we call it. But yeah, this is that scene ends so well with Gary, like you said, checking the bottom of the phone, and he looks at the roof, like he's like looking around, freaking out. I love that. But this is another huge moment in the movie. I didn't see this coming when I was younger. And even now, it still kind of surprises me. I mean, the stakes we're interested enough. I'm not saying the stakes are up very high, but
I'm getting this now. I'm picking up on this now because I didn't. Obviously, you don't really know why he's sniffing you're talking about sniffing the jacket, right?
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, finding out about the affair and everything, because he even says earlier on. I don't want to go past it. When he first walks in, he's like, "Was Stuart here?" She's like, "No, about an hour ago." I was like, "Damn, dude."
Can we talk about his running on the street?
Oh, please.
The Nicolas Cage vampire's kiss. I'm a vampire running down the street. That's literally what that is.
Dude, yeah. That is not, I mean, I'm like, is that just a straight up Nicholson creative choice? Like,
oh my God.
And I don't want to go past Nicholson's influence on this movie. He had final decision for a director.
Really?
He had final decision. Like, he had been trying to apparently get this movie made for 12 years.
Do you know what this guy's directed? He's pretty out there.
Yeah, Mike Nichols?
Yeah.
I've never really seen the name a whole lot. This is the only thing that I really know him in. I think it was Wesley Strick who Jack Nicholson was friends with that he tried for so long to get this movie made. It says Mike Nichols, he died in 2014 at the age of 83. He did The Graduate, which is fucking great. I love The Graduate.
Dude, his first movie was Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
I've never heard of that.
I haven't seen it, but I know it's pretty fucking good, man. Like apparently it's one of those really influential movies. It's Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor. Like right there, you've got two huge names.
Whoa! He did the fucking Birdcage with Robin Williams. Oh my god, I love that movie. That is so great. Well, hats off to Mike Nichols. I underestimated his filmography.
I was like, this guy's wild, man. Like Charlie Wilson's War with Tom Hanks.
Yeah, this guy's kind of all over the place. Resume. Yeah. But yeah, this is where we find out that Will's wife, Charlotte, is having an affair with Stuart. This is also important where Will bites Stuart on the hand when he tries to grab him on the shoulder.
Okay, because towards the end, man, I was like, when the fuck did this asshole get bitten?
Yeah, is it something that like Will had sex with Charlotte and Charlotte ended up giving it to Stuart? Is it like a werewolf STD? Like what is it?
Charlotte's just giving everyone everything.
Yeah, right. Which is like, oh my god, that would have been hilarious. Like an outbreak of werewolf STDs in the Lower Manhattan area.
But yeah, man, like I'm so glad that. You mentioned that, and like we're kind of like because we're both watching this as we go along the episode. Like I didn't know when he got bitten. I was honestly like, did he encounter a wolf somewhere and it just wasn't like explained? Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm so glad that's in there now because there's like no sort of moment in the movie where we get James Spader sort of freaking out or anything. Like he just becomes he's got the eyes suddenly in the police station at the end. I was like, what? When did this happen?
Right. This is great too, and this is where Will just comes out fucking swinging. As soon as he walks in, get my Rolodex out, Mary. I've moved into the Mayflower. This is where he's basically moved out, and he also says, get with legal, find out if the deal with Alden's closed or if they're still dicking around on points. And also, I want to get you I want a list of all the authors that I've ever worked with in McLeish House. This is where we're starting to see this kind of, if you want to call it for lack of a better word, this coup, this kind of operation that Will's got going on.
This happened in The Office. Like, you haven't seen The Office, have you? The US Office?
Actually, Lindsay's a big fan. I've watched quite a bit of it, but not later seasons. There's an episode where, well, it's kind of like an arc. Michael gets fired, basically. Oh, yeah, I've seen that. Michael Scott Paper Company.
Yeah, he starts his own little paper company, he steals his own clients and shit. So this is like, that's what this reminded me of, except a bit more serious. And, with Jack Nicholson, you never know. He might just come running with a fucking axe and, chop you up.
Right, yeah. I love this scene between them. And he's basically what they're going to do is set up a kind of mutiny. Will is going to leave. He's going to start a publishing house of his own, and he's trying to goad all of these authors with him to give him some kind of leverage over Stuart. And I like this. Literally, this is not the Will that we knew at the beginning of the movie. He walks in. I mean, and Mary even asks him. She says, "Hey, has the worm turned, sir?" He's like, "The worm has turned, Mary, and now it's packing an Uzi." She's like, "About fucking time." I love that. I love that part because she's so great. Like you said, she is boring and she is drab and she's kind of like, ugh. But to see her just say, about fucking time. Is that
the first F-bomb? I'm pretty sure it's the first F-bomb in the movie.
I think so. I can't remember. I say it so much it just kind of blurs now.
Oh yeah, me too.
But
after that, man, we get probably my favorite interaction in the entire movie. Well, one of them. What do you want me to do? Oh, well, James Spader. What do you want me to do? Resign today. Promise never to see Charlotte again. Like, when he said that, I was like, isn't that implied? The fact that the husband of the woman that you're sleeping with is standing right here in front of you. Yes. Right. Yes, I want you to promise to never see her again. But I do like, resign today, and he's just like, well, no. And he's like, but my favorite thing is like, so why did I say it?
Right. And he's so cold as he said, well, I
like,
can't
he's just
do
so
that.
used to it, man.
I'm like,
it's
oh
fucking
my God.
great.
Yeah, it's really great because we know so much of what's going on. We know their friendship. We know that this just happened either last night or the night beforehand. This is recent. There's still a lot of like fresh wounds. It makes this, for one thing, the look on Jack Nicholson's face is just like, I could rip your throat out right now, but I'm not. Like, he's like, I know what I kind of am coming to grips with what's going on. And I'm pretty sure I can kill you right now. Like, but what's awesome is James Spader's reaction. Obviously, he looks like he's about to shit water everywhere. Like he looks just absolutely terrified. He looks sick to his stomach.
He does,
but
he
also
plays it well. He's so good. Oh, I love him.
Right, and it's a nice reversal of the tables because Will Randall now has this vigor and this kind of I want to fuck you over kind of thing.
Speaking of The Office, oh, how the turntables.
Right.
He literally just, like, fucks it up. Oh, I love it. I'm sorry. By the way, listeners, I know we're on our 40th episode, but there will be plenty of Office references throughout this podcast. I'm just letting you know.
Right.
My favorite show of all time.
I was really late to the party on that one, and it sucks.
Oh, me too.
Like,
me too.
I love it. I love it watching, especially watching it now. Oh my God. Okay, we'll do an Office episode. I swear to God, we will. We'll get Lindsay on here because this will be a lot of fucking fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, and Stewart. God, what a fucking asshole. Is saying because he still is he. The way he puts it, he's like, "You'll never forgive me, will you?" And he's like, "No."
No.
It's like, what do you expect, dude? I mean, this just happened like yesterday. Maybe that's something you ask someone months or years down the line.
Like 8 hours ago.
Right. You were
8
balls
hours
deep
ago,
in his wife.
Your dick was in the craw of this man's wife.
Just like firing away.
You probably fired a live one in her. She's probably going to get pregnant in a few months. But no, like, will you ever forgive me for that? Like, what?
Right.
Pretty sure the wounds are still fresh.
Right, exactly. But this is where Stewart says, well, if you will allow me to, I've asked Alden to forget about the whole Eastern European thing and keep you on as senior editorial consultant. Will you let me do that for you? And he's just, I love Jack Nicholson's face. I'm going to get you, Stewart. I'm like, oh, it feels so good. Like, it's great because it locks you in and you feel great. Because not only, it's almost kind of like an allegory for impotence. Like, he's kind of getting older. He's not really, they even say they haven't had sex in a long time. He hasn't been getting out. He's starting to feel his age. And I think it's great to see the tables turned on Stewart because it's almost like Stewart is now having to fight a Will who is his age. Like that, I'm sure, I mean, this guy he's editor-in-chief. I'm sure he had to bust some heads along the way. But, just because Will can do it, and he can be that cutthroat, but he has so much like class to it as well. He brings this kind of like, whereas James Spader goes behind his back the entire time, fucking his wife, taking his job, he walks right up to him and he's like, I'm going to get you, Stewart. I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. Like, that's so honorable, just walking up and just saying it to their fucking face.
It's like a samurai.
Right, yeah, exactly.
So stoic. Yeah.
But he leaves Stewart to himself, and this is where we start getting the plan. Where this is a great scene as well, where he's talking to Mary and Roy, and he says, get a hold of every top-rated author that I've ever worked with, and tell them that we're starting our own publishing house, so we don't like the new policies here. That basically the new policy is to sell everything or push everything that sells and bury everything that takes a dive, which is obviously that's going to piss off some writers because not every book is just a top #1 seller. But I love David Hyde Pierce. He's like, one, is any of this true? He's like, not. He's like, no, not really. He's like, and have you called any investors? He's like, no, not yet. But you want me to say it anyways? He's like, yes. You're my god. And he walks off. That's a really, really great.
It's good shit, man.
I love David Hyde Pierce. He never gets enough credit. He was the voice of Abe Sapien and Hellboy. If anybody
shit, I didn't know that.
The first one. I think he only did the first one. But if Netflix used to have it, I don't think it's on there anymore. It's called The Perfect Host. It's a horror movie that he's in, and he plays the villain, and he is fucking great. He is so good. And obviously playing Niles and Frasier, he was also in, I think, A Bug's Life. Like, he's done a lot of shit since then, but he's, I think, a lot of theater work and a lot of voice work. But this is where Will Randall goes and confronts Raymond Alden, and tells him that basically that he's turning down Eastern Europe. Again, straight to his face. He's being proactive. He's not doing all of this behind his back. You know, he wants him to know that, like, I'm out for blood, basically. I like this. This is like the anti-Stewart. This is like not this conniving, wiggling through, like having to rub shoulders with people and then stab them in the back. He's just straightforward with these people, and I like it. These are really good scenes between Pfeiffer and Nicholson. Nicholson approaches her on the horse. He scares the horse. It kicks her off. I love that. She's like, what are you, crazy? Don't you have enough brains to stay away from animals when they're frightened of you? Referencing the night, a couple nights before where he spooked the horses. And this is where we kind of figure out that the relationship between Laura and Raymond Alden is very contentious, I guess is the right word. It's extremely strained. And
apparently Plummer actually slapped her on in real life.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was like, but I don't recall a scene where he slaps her.
Neither do I. I'm like, oh, well, that was done for nothing.
Right, yeah. I don't remember seeing this at all, but I guess it's in some kind of deleted scenes. But this is where Raymond's, trying to get his daughter to come to lunch with him and some friends, and she just uses Will basically as a decoy. Now, oh, well, I'm sorry, I'm having lunch with Mr. Randall. He said, it doesn't really matter what you do, Mr. Randall. She loves the fact that you're unemployed, inappropriate, and I don't approve of you.
Yeah, it's just so straight, like fucking edged. I love it.
Right, yeah, and it's just something we see between the older guys. The younger guys are not like this. These older guys are like, well, watch out.
Yeah, I do like the directness with the older guys, whereas if you have James Spader, he's a bit more of a snake.
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah. This is where I love, she's like, well, oh, I'm sorry, I just realized all I have is, peanut butter and jelly and a quart of milk. I'm afraid we'll have to cancel lunch. And he's like, oh, what are you talking about? Peanut butter and jelly
Fucking hit me up.
Yeah, he's like, that's mother's milk to me. She's like, listen, whatever you think's going to happen won't happen. Don't think that just because, just don't think because we had some kind of exchange the other night that anything is going to happen from there. But his response is fucking epic. I love that. He says, I don't take anything for granted, Miss Alden, just a small measure of civility from my hostess. And I'm like, damn, dude, like fucking class, dude. He's got fucking class. He's got
class, man. I'm like, if he didn't look like a serial killer, he would be slaying. Like,
yeah. Oh my God, yeah.
He'd be slaying puss, not bods.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and this whole scene is just fucking great. Just totally just awkward and clammed up between them. And he asks what she does. She's like, I'd rather not talk about what I do. But this is again one of those kind of grandstanding moments where he starts talking, just basically kind of waxing poetic and going on about what's going on around him, I guess. But he's like, I think I finally figured you out. You want to find someone, you're very beautiful, and you think that men are only interested in you because you're beautiful. But you want them to be interested in you because you're you. The problem is, aside from all that beauty, you're not very interesting. You're sullen, you're withdrawn, you're rude, you're hostile. And he's like, and beyond that, the irony is that the only reason people would look past this is because you're beautiful. You're kind of your own problem. And she's like, dude, imagine having that drop on you.
She's like, I'm not having a bar of that, sorry.
Yeah, right. She literally says, like, oops, wrong number. I'm not taken back by your astute assumption of me, and am suddenly challenged by you. I'm like, oh, swing and a miss.
Love it.
It's really great, but this scene it's so weird because almost like immediately, obviously he kind of like gets his face rubbed in the shit, but we get more of her. We figure out about her mother. That picture of her mother is obviously Michelle Pfeiffer. I'm like, holy shit, that woman looks exactly like her.
I was like, that's her. Like, right. That's fucking ridiculous.
This is where we find out she also had a younger brother who Alden told everyone that died in an accident, but I guess he committed suicide. He was diagnosed schizophrenic. And I think it's great, the fact that Randall's like, oh yeah, he had some kind of accident. She's like, no, he killed himself. She's very upfront about it. She's like, don't try to obfuscate what really happened. He didn't have some kind of accident. I think that's great. I think it's a great little detail. The fact that she's, most people would just say, yeah, he had an accident.
She faces it head on, and I think that factors into the decision. Oh, not decision, but like the reason why Will pretty much like just outs with his secret, right?
Right, yeah. This is going right into the next scene where he starts talking about something happened to me a few days ago. I was driving in New England and I hit an animal. He says, a wolf, and says that, I'm fine, everything's fine, but I think it transferred something into me. And this is where things get a little weird, because things have been so off between them. Like, they just can't seem to get on the same page. The first scene, he literally gropes her by accident, but still. In the next scene, he gets her kicked off a horse.
That was not an accident. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And, has this whole epilogue about how shitty of a human being that she is, but then all of a sudden right here, for some reason, it turns into like they become like best friends. And that I don't understand and I don't agree with. I can understand if Will opened up a little bit more, but not her,
It might be the weirdness. I don't know. This might be one of those stories about like a couple coming together because of a weird situation. Like, that's definitely what that is, but maybe she just takes to strange events a bit more. I don't know. Right, it is weird though.
And she also seems like she wears her heart on her sleeve in a way. She's very charitable almost in a way, even though she's kind of sullen and withdrawn. Like, she's almost attracted to, it's like people who find wounded animals and nurse them back to health. Like, it's kind of that thing. And this is also, kind of parallel to what happens in Batman Returns. We have this spectacular situation of what's going on, and only a couple of people can really understand it. Obviously, Batman and Catwoman. And later on with because I don't want to get too far ahead, but like, I assume later on at the very end of the movie, we understand that she is a wolf, or she's either been turned by him, or she's been one the whole time. That's kind of what I took away from it. So in these scenes, I almost kind of feel like she is a wolf. Like, that's my taking away from it. I think that's why she is so sullen and withdrawn. I would have liked her to be a wolf the entire time. It makes way more sense, because for one thing, it explains why she still has anything to do with him after all of this terrible chemistry between them. Like, I don't know.
I would have.
Go ahead.
Like, it would have kind of explained why she is in that photo and not her mother. Like, right. It's a thing that wolves don't age, right? Like, it's immortality, isn't that right?
That's true. I don't know, because this is
that
like
might only be vampires,
right? This is like wolf versus like werewolf lore. Like, I love the old lycanthrope mythology, but I'm not that versed in it. But it would make so much more sense if she were a wolf the entire time. Like, I remember watching this younger and thinking, Is she the wolf at the beginning that he hits? Like, is that what happens? Like, maybe her brother is a wolf, actually, and that's what drove him crazy? Like, I don't really know. But either way, you can just kind of, whatever spin you want to put on it, go right ahead. But this is where Will has another episode, and he kind of starts getting short of breath, and he almost collapses.
Again, call the ambulance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right, at this point. But, this is, I do like this scene, but it just seems kind of like unwarranted and a little kind of unearned. It seems like, why are we already at this point? Something should have happened earlier on, where I think... Are you talking
about this fucking wild escapade, or are you talking about just these two together?
Just these two together before he knocks out for the night, because, like, I feel like I could have appreciated this a little bit more had Will maybe been the one earlier to be like, oh, well, I'm sorry, Mr. Alden, she's actually having lunch with me. Like, if he could tell she didn't want to go, and he kind of took the reins on it and we're like, I don't care if you actually have lunch with me, I just wanted to get you out of that. I could see that being, okay, well, maybe this guy isn't a complete asshole. Like, that's just me personally. I fucking don't listen to me. Hey, I've never written a fucking major motion picture. Don't listen to me, but...
Well, sorry. I think that's what I'm saying, but, this movie would have benefited a lot more if the romance wasn't really front and center. which it is. Like the wolf stuff is kind of like secondary to the romance, I think. And I think the romance is very. It feels, although it's like front and center, it feels shoehorned in some way. It feels weird. Like it doesn't feel earned. It doesn't feel natural. It's just like, okay, we need for these two to be together.
Right, yeah, and like I said, if they'd have just not spelled out earlier on that she were a wolf, but it were kind of spelled out as a revelation
Just
at the end of the film.
Just a hint.
Right, yeah, it would make something, it would make a lot more sense, but yeah, this is where we get that amazing, ridiculous scene that's totally day for night. I mean, oh my God, like you don't even try to hide it, man, like the color grading and stuff. I'm like, come on, man, like I've messed around with cameras. Some friends and I have tried some day for night shots, and I was like, dude, come on. Like, day for night can look a lot better than that. Like, come on. This is brutal. It is. It's hard. It's like, dude, it's like 12:30 in the afternoon right now. While you're filming this.
People are out having lunch, walking their dogs and shit. Kids are like at school. Like It is broad daylight. But like I get what they're going for. I guess the moonlight, but I mean still, like it's fucking weird. Like Like I guarantee you, like cars do not need headlights on. Like it's fucking ridiculous. But this might be one of my least favorite scenes in the movie. Just how it's so drawn out. Like, it's so. This is where the slow motion comes into it, and it just annoyed the fuck out of me. Like, it's just so.
Especially using slow motion when you obviously have a stunt double for half these shots. Looks really bad. It's like, dude, I can tell the difference very easily between those two.
Right, 100%, man. I mean. He's got the. I do like the Wolverine little fucking chops, the mutton chops. But yeah, he's like full sprint after this deer, and it just goes on, and then he just like fucking wrestling body slams it from the top of this cliff.
Yeah, right.
Like he just fucking knocks it out. But yeah, I don't know. This wasn't a thing for me.
Yeah,
could have been done better.
It's goofy, man, especially with, again, you know, you've got Rick Baker and fucking Jack Nicholson. It's like, this is the best that you guys could do, you know, and like, not so much the special effects, it's more so the directing, but it's like you had really, really, really good ammo and you just kind of squandered it. But Will wakes up in the middle of the forest and takes the fuck off and leaves, which is when he finally is like, I gotta go to a goddamn doctor.
Yeah, now.
Yeah, right now. But basically, the doctor says, sounds like you did some sleepwalking. You know, you fell and knocked yourself out. You've got some scalp lacerations. I'm going to make some arrangements for an EEG and a CAT scan. And I asked that you spend the night at Mount Sinai. You could have a concussion and a possible blood clot. I love Will. You know, no one feels this good with a concussion or a blood clot. That's the end of it. You know, that's it. He goes to the doctor, and I'm like, dude, why did you even go? Like,
how the fuck would you
listen to him.
How would you know, like, how someone feels after a blood clot? I mean...
Right, exactly. Like, I don't... it's a little aggravating because he leaves in such a rush because he's like, oh my God, you know, I gotta get this checked out. And then when the doctor tells you what's wrong, he wants you to take a look at a CAT scan or EEG. No, I'm fine. You know, and he just leaves.
I'm good.
I'm like, okay.
I'm good.
Don't go to the doctor then, man. Like, if you're just gonna keep this thing under wraps, like, keep it under wraps. Don't go to the doctor. Like...
Hey, I was... Last night, I mean, I know you can't remember, but like last night, I was literally nearly fucking running on all fours after a deer in the woods, and I fucking snapped its neck after I body slammed it from a cliff and survived. Like, no, but it's cool. It's fine. Like, I don't, you know, it's only a blood clot or a concussion. Oh, actually, no. You know what? It's not because I feel good, so it can't be those.
Right. It's like, I can understand the whole, I woke back up in my bed and I don't have a memory of anything that happened. You woke up in the middle of the forest covered in fucking blood. Like, you know something is up at this point. Yeah, like, come on, dude.
You dipped your head in the fucking river water to get the blood off you.
Right, yeah. But either way, I mean, we can hark on that shit for hours, but we move on to this scene.
Which we will.
Right, which we will. It'll be a bonus episode or something.
Listeners, you're in for a good time for the next few hours.
Yeah, right. It's just us talking about, like, and he would have given him some kind of Thorazine and, like, but this is a great scene between Plummer and Nicholson where basically he sits down and he tells them, you're deliberately goading the top writers of this publishing house to leave and go to some kind of, fairy tale place, being writers, they're too goddamn stupid to know it. Which is a great line. Basically, he's saying you're hurting all these people to quit on a wing and a prayer that has no chance of succeeding. But I love Will's response. He goes, well, it doesn't really matter if we go to a new publishing house or we start a new publishing house. The fact is that 7 top-rated writers are leaving McLeish because they don't like its practices. And once I release that memo tomorrow morning, the price and reputation of this publishing firm will take a giant nosedive. I'm like, God damn, dude, like, you're really going for the jugular, But I love Plumber. You're worse of a son of a bitch than Stewart. He goes, yeah, but I still have those 2 drawbacks, taste and individuality. It's like, oh, I love that. That's such a good callback to, and again, this is on the first conversation, they're just kind of buddy and rubbing shoulders. And on this one, I mean, they're they got that samurai kind of look at each other that, and it's the same, it's the same kind of, exact same kind of conversation, but in a totally different context. But yeah, basically he's like, all right, call it off, keep your job. I never would have fired you if I'd have known you were this ruthless.
He's so like nonchalant about it. Right.
Yeah, exactly. But Nicholson says, he's like, thank you, but before I confirmed anything, I want a memo granting me additional powers and additional monies. I fucking love that. And I guess it's Plummer's attorney, or his, I can't remember exactly. What
he's like, no, I'm not going to agree to that, no.
Yeah. And I love, he's like, oh, yes, you will. He's like, well, I'd do it. What the hell do I even know about publishing? Here's one of the weirdest shots in this movie. When he tells him, he's like, I'll tell Stewart. He's like, no, let me tell Stewart. And it does this weird zoom.
Oh,
holy
my God.
Fuck,
it's like
that was like jarring.
A weird, like, Tarantino. Like, remember in fucking Django when we first see, like, Leo and, like, he turns around and, like, it just, like, zooms straight to his face. Like,
right. I can handle that.
What the fuck is this?
But, like, the whole part of him, like, they're at the bottom right of the screen and they pull like hard
they just
up.
like pivot it. Yeah, it's weird.
Right, it's actually really weird. But yeah, this is again another great scene between. Well, I might be getting a little bit ahead of myself. I'm trying to see if this is the one where he's already.
Well, we
talking
just move
to
on
James
to the
Spader.
doctor. No, because after that it's the doctor, isn't it? He talks to the doctor. The Indian bloke.
Oh yeah, Dr. Vijay Alazeus.
Dr. Zayas.
Dr. Zayas. Well, I'll tell you what. Before we get into that,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, of course, the brown guy is gonna be into all the mystical shit.
Well, of course, dude. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, sorry, this is
early 90s,
America.
Man.
No, I'm just kidding.
Nice.
But yeah, let's take a break, refill our glasses, empty our bladders, and we'll be back in just a moment, guys.
A wolf bit me. I don't think so, Will. You weren't there, Ralph.
Not all who are bitten change. There must be something wild within.
You've been sleeping all day. How do you feel?
Good. It is Mexican Independence Day.
I never thought I'd meet a good man who looked at me the way you do.
You don't know I'm a good man. You crazy? No. I'm just marking my territory. We got 5 new murders. What is there about a full moon?
There. Well, you seem pretty helpless now.
Yes.
Power without guilt. Love without doubt. It feels good to be wolf.
Don't look so scared.
Hey guys, welcome back. Here with the second part of our coverage of Wolf. We've got our drinks full and our bladders empty, so we're going to dive right back in. This scene with Dr. Zayas.
Dr. Zayas?
Dr. Zayas.
Oh, Jesus.
I actually like this scene a lot. It's weird though. It's kind of like out of place for this movie, strictly because I feel like
Booga, Indian man.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, like, and this actor that plays him, I believe his name. Sorry, I just had it pulled up.
Puri or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Puri. It was so odd, especially for him to have to, because he's not that old. You know, he had to sit in the makeup chair for quite a while to film, like, I think several hours just to film this one scene. And I was like, that is so weird. Like, why wouldn't you just hire an actor who is that old?
Does he not, like, resemble slightly a little bit like Edward James Olmos?
Oh, shit. Yeah, I could totally see that, dude.
I thought it was him. I was like, that's fucking weird, man.
Yeah, it's like, where was Edward James Olmos when you were doing this? You know, he would have been killer in this. But yeah, this is where Will basically meets Dr. Zayas, and they go over kind of like the rules, which is what's interesting about this scene and why it seems kind of out of place, because obviously nobody around him knows what's going on. They don't know what's happening to Will. They can't really say anything. No one really has any answers.
Moment. Yeah, this is the only moment where you get the mythos kind of spelled out for you, right?
Right. Yeah, and he even says you really need to be talking to like a shaman or someone. I don't really know. I don't know all the rules. I don't have the herbs or the fucking incantations.
Doctors doing their referrals and not sure whatever the fuck they're doing.
Right. Yeah. He's like, here, I'm just going to diagnose you, but I don't know half this shit. But this, Will's basically just asking him about what happens with this wolf. He says eventually at the full moon he will consume him, killing everything, but his heart. Basically, I think that's at the first full moon. Killing everything but his nature and his heart, which is, I mean, obviously this is just pretty disturbing.
It's fucking wild.
Yeah, but this guy is crazy, because he's not only kind of like a bearer of bad news, but he's kind of weirdly optimistic in a way about all this. He's excited, and we figure out why, that he wants Will to bite him. He wants
to become one.
Right, and I love that conversation. He's like, speaking of strange and mystical experiences, I've been told that I'm dying. And he's like, here's a gift. And he gives Will the talisman that will apparently keep the wolf at bay. It causes him great pain. It might even drive him out. And he gives Will the talisman, and he says, I would just request that you bite me, and I love Will's line. He's like, you'd rather be damned than die. And he's like, damnation is not a part of my process of belief. I'm like, that's great. That is a great line back to that. I think that's fantastic. But this conversation's great. Like, he's kind of playing devil's advocate a little bit. He's not quite saying this is exactly what's going on. This is what he believes is going on, but he's kind of playing a little bit of both sides, especially when Will's like, he's like, not that I subscribe to any of this, but he interrupts him. He's like, neither do I really, only to the possibility. I'm like, that's awesome. That's a really good line. This guy's is like Yoda, basically. He's got a great mysticism about him, and seems very wise. But either way, Will refuses to bite him, and I mean, I understand why. But he straight up says to him, he's like, I'm sorry, I can't, and he's like, well, maybe, he's like, but, try to, he tells me, he's like, try to believe in what's going on. Don't try to negate all of this so much. He's like, and maybe if you believe in your gift, someday you can come back and repay it to me. He's like, I still, that offer is still on the table. Let me ask you something. Would you do it? Would you bite him?
I don't think so.
No?
Because I don't think even he's aware of like what the fuck he's getting himself into. And, like he's just taking like all these like wild guesses and like hypothesizing and shit and theories. Like he doesn't really know what he's getting himself into. Like whereas if I'm the one biting him, like I know what I'm about to do to him, so I'm just gonna be like, no, this is for your own benefit.
Right, yeah. It's like maybe you think the grass is greener on the other side, but that's not necessarily true. But I guess in the face of in the face of what's going on with him, I guess it's something he's like, well, I'd rather deal with something than not deal with anything at all. I think I'd do it, man. I know that sounds weird, but like I would have liked to have seen at least some kind of scene later on where, either he was following Will and Will just attacked him outright, because he's losing more of his humanity and it ends up turning him, into the wolf. Like I wouldn't mind seeing that scene, just because, I mean, this guy is there's only so many people around Will who are like loyal to him like that and actually are kind of, even if it is for his own benefit, he's wanting to help him. He still says, he's like, keep the talisman. He's like, keep it. It's a gift. He's like, I don't really need it. But I love this whole scene between them. But I mean, I gotta say, I do it, man. This guy is just afraid of dying. He asks you to do it. It's like, well, I guess like I understand the concerns of like, well, I don't want to. I don't think you know what you're getting yourself into. He's like, well, it's better than not dying. I don't know. I think I'd do it just out of some kind of weird pity. If he really wanted me to, it's like, all right, get some dinner in me first. I mean, God, I got to do something.
Well, you can fucking live with yourself after that, Colin, you piece of shit.
Oh, I will. I fucking love dogs. I fucking love werewolves and dogs.
You keep him as your pet.
Yeah. Well, this is where we get the scene with Will calling Laura and telling, trying to explain to her what happened, that I fell on it. Listen, goddammit, I fell, I hit my head. And she even says, and you didn't think to come back to my cottage? He's like, no, it didn't occur to me to come back at 6 o'clock in the morning, knock on your door and ask you to take care of me again. I'm like, that's
definitely
good,
logical.
Yeah, like it's great. But this is, they agree to meet up, I think, the following night. And I love that she's like, I'll be there at 8:30 at your hotel, but you better be there and you better look hurt. I'm like, I actually like that. The humor in this is great. But this scene with fucking him wolfing out, I guess it goes to the zoo first. We see David Schwimmer. This is David Schwimmer's like
I know,
the debut in any movie.
This is the year that Friends started.
Oh, is it really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I literally looked it up because I'm like, surely David Schwimmer is big by now, right? Like, why the fuck would he be playing a cop?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is the year that Friends had started, so I don't think it had taken off quite yet.
Mm-hmm. Right. But yeah, this is all really great. I love this scene, especially with the animals the animals freaking out. He gets they get one handcuff on him and he dashes away up that rock wall. I was like, holy shit. But this scene with these guys trying to mug him, I mean, hey, mister, let us borrow some money, blah, blah.
Oh, this is goofy.
See, it's goofy, but at the same time, I like the humor in it. I've got about $1,000 in my wallet. How much would you like to borrow? 5, 10? I'm like, I like the dialogue in it, but there is something, especially with Spader's wolf, like later on, he looks not well. Like there's something kind of wrong with him. Like I was like, I don't really like the way he looks. And like, I like Nicholson's I think that he can portray this kind of thing without, the soul patch and the mutton chops and the teeth. It's like, dude, if you'd have just given him the eyes and maybe a little bit of extra facial hair, I could have bought this. But he looks like kind of silly, man. If I saw this guy, I wouldn't sit there and pull a gun on him. Are you kidding me? He's fucking terrifying looking.
Well, exactly, and that's I think that comes down to what I said earlier. Like Nicholson just has that face.
Right, yeah. It's like, dude, just let Nicholson be Nicholson, or maybe not cast like such a harsh light on him. Put him in the dark, and when he comes out, these people are like, holy shit, and then, shit hits the fan. But either way, he tears that guy a new fucking asshole when he pulls the gun on him. I like the way that the action is shown, just that kind of shot of Jack Nicholson's face, and there's a lot of these like rush cuts where you can't quite tell what's going on, because that feels so real to me. If you've ever been in a fight or some kind of altercation or like a car crash, like everything just it happens so fast. It like blurs.
Yeah.
Like I kind of like that.
Well, I was wondering why you liked it, because I didn't.
Yeah.
I think it's just I wasn't a fan because it's just kind of like, oh, we're kind of cheaping out, or like we're just doing the easy thing because it's so easy to do that.
Right, yeah. I think that because they show so little of the attacks and like the physicality of what's going on, it kind of lets your mind make it up. And that's what I like. The fact that we don't see him rip this guy to shreds, but we can pretty much put 2 and 2 together.
Well, I'm not saying like do like a close up of him like ripping this guy apart.
Right.
I mean, you can do it tastefully. Like you can literally just pull the shot back as far as you can and just see like the silhouette of him like going at this guy. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that
Like,
would be great. Or just them cloaked in shadow, like letting you figure it out. Like, but I love this. You know, of course, the next day, Will's actually finalizing the papers with Alden. And we see him confront Stewart, and he just tells Stewart flat out, he's like, Stewart asked him, he says, hey, are you still open to that senior consultant thing? He's like, no, I got a better offer from this house, actually. And he throws him the contract.
This scene is fucking fantastic.
Yeah, I did what you did. I nagged Alden until he gave me your job. I'm like, holy shit. And just their dialogue, when? He's like, when? I don't understand. When? He's like, in my free time. I've had a lot of it lately. I'm like, oh, that's another dig, at like the personal life of what's been going on. And oh my God, like I don't know if Stewart is so scared that he's just like dumbfounded, like, wow, like he had no idea what was happening. But he is the fucking deer in the headlights, like dictionary picture definition of fucking deer in the headlights. But yeah, I gotta say he bounces back quick though. He's like, well, the best man won. I didn't like the way I got it and I couldn't give it up, and I hope that we can work together without rancor. You're fired.
You're
Stewart.
fired.
Such a good delivery, and just him begging him, please don't do it. It'll ruin me. Just let me stay out my contract, and I'll say that I'll quit. Give me a couple months. And just Will, nah, it's not what's best for the firm.
Then he proceeds to piss on his shoes, on his suede shoes. But it's not that gets me. It's the line, I'm just marking my territory. Ha, ha, ha.
God, it's like, I know you've got to have something to come back from that line, but like, Jesus Christ, dude. Like, I mean, I know it's a bit of a double entendre. I was marking my territory and you got in the way, the wolf thing and the corporate thing, haha. But like, the one exchange of this that is fucking hilarious is when he's like, nice, these are suede shoes, and he goes, asparagus.
Yeah.
I fucking love that, dude.
I actually laughed out loud.
That is
I was like, that's
so
fucking great.
I love this, man. That's the kind of stuff, like, what this humor almost reminds me of is like British Edgar Wright, like very quick kind of like humor that you're kind of like, wait, what did he say? And it takes you a second to get it. Like, I love that. But Will's victory is very short-lived because he finds some black guy's fingers in his pocket.
Yeah, fucking just fucking severed fingers, wedding ring, chucks it in the sink.
Jesus Christ, man. Like, that is, oh my God. But Will freaks out. He takes off back to the hotel. There's Charlotte waiting there for him. This is kind of an important scene, strictly because they have an argument. She's begging him to take him back. He's, basically saying, get the fuck out of here. But I guess the hotel clerk sees them having this argument. And this will come back kind of like later on with Richard Jenkins' character. But yeah, do you think that it's better that you betrayed me with a man who meant nothing to you? Do you know that you betrayed me for nothing? I'm like, damn, dude. It's a great scene, but it's very short and nothing really to like take away from it, except for the fact that we see Laura Alden waiting downstairs after they have their altercation, which is awkward as fuck.
Dude, she's like there, and she's like, oh, okay, well, okay.
Right. Like, holy shit.
I'm still getting that dick, but
yeah, right. I'm still getting that wolf dick, but
that red rocket.
Yeah, oh man. At least he's probably been neutered. Dog puns for the win.
Dog puns, because there isn't enough in the movie.
Right? Yeah. But basically, Laura knocks on the door. Will tells her to go away. She gets the maid to let her in. She finds Will has handcuffed himself to the radiator.
But her thing here Like, what was his plan? Just kind of cold turkey, like, just wait it out?
I guess, like, I'm like, dude, if you're anything like what you think that you can do, you can rip that radiator off the fucking wall.
Yeah.
Like, you can
That's
do
what I
that.
thought,
Like,
too.
yeah, it's like you need to go, like, somewhere caged. Like you need to be somewhere you just absolutely can't escape. No, yeah, and I love the way she picks the lock, and she just, she flat out, because it kind of makes her, that it kind of help. In writing, I could imagine writing the script. We say, okay, well, how do we get him out of here? Not only do we need something to get him out of these handcuffs, but why don't we use that as a character building moment for her and show that she has some kind of, she's been around some rough characters and stuff. I'm like, I love that. I think that's great writing. I think that's really interesting for them just to kill two birds with one stone like that. But and again, more dialogue from between them because it's just because they have great dialogue. She's like, "You're a good man. You don't know that I'm a good man. Yes, I do. Then why is this happening?" Like, that's great. I thought only the ones who were evil were cursed. It's really, really, it's good. We need something while she's picking this lock, and I like how realistic it is. It's not just like, oh, here, and he's out. It takes a minute, man. I gotta fucking pick a lock with a paper clip. Like, give me a second. But what did you think of this exchange between them? Like, because it does go on for a while, though. I'm like, dude,
It does.
You could cut this a little short.
Well, I was like, how long does it take her to pick this fucking lock?
Mm-hmm.
But then I realized she's white, so she hasn't. Boom.
Zing.
Race jokes.
One star.
I'm sure that's going to come back and bite me in the ass one day when I'm a fucking lawyer, but, whatever.
Yeah, hey, just make sure you delete those tweets or whatever it is before they get a hold of you.
Yeah, I'll do a James Gunn.
Yeah, exactly. Or fucking Ryan Johnson, dude. Ryan Johnson deleted like 3,000 tweets after they fired him.
He sweated his ass off and he just bulk deleted. It's a good conversation, man. There's not much to it. I'm not really interested in the romance element of this, so I didn't really take it as much as you did. But I was just like, okay, it's fine, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sounds shallow, I know, but I don't know.
Well, because it is, I actually read something where they had to change her character up to a certain point because she was just almost like a damsel in distress.
Right, I initially didn't like her character.
Right.
Because it felt like that.
If it were a lesser actor playing her, I couldn't, like Michelle Pfeiffer again, she has that animalistic, those eyes, but then also like that kind of like walk that she has, that very animal-like.
Slinky.
Yeah, yep. Like she's almost like a panther, it's like, holy shit.
Or a cat.
Yeah, or a cat. Oh man, she's like a small mountain lion or a cat, Colin. That'll also work too. You could say a cat. We see
because she's proven herself.
Yeah, right. But she's we see these scenes. She and Will wind up staying the night together. Will ends up escaping anyways, and I guess she just doesn't notice, or she doesn't give a fuck because she's a wolf, which I've said 1,000 times.
No.
But they wake up together, but obviously this is very short-lived. That's one thing about Will, these nice moments, oh yeah, it's awesome, oh yeah, I could jump real high, and, I fucked over Stuart, and, blah, blah, and all this stuff. But his moments of victory are extremely short-lived. Like nothing, and I think that has everything to do with, the elements of like a tragic story, like I'm not saying it's like an extremely tragic story. Obviously his wife gets murdered. He loses his job. He finds out his best friend is fucking his wife and trying to take his job. It's like, holy shit. This, I fucking love this. This is where we get Richard Jenkins. Dude, this guy is like, this guy is so great because this is the era that I like remember him from. This and like Witches of Eastwick.
He's a boss. I love him.
Like this is the era that I remember him from. So seeing him in like Step Brothers and then like Cabin in the Woods, I was like, oh, okay, that guy, yeah. But he's kind of had like what we were talking about with Michael Keaton on Spotlight. He's kind of had this like resurgence. Richard Jenkins is in so much shit, and you never realized how much stuff he was actually in, but. basically the police show up, which is, Richard Jenkins and his partner. They show up to question Will, basically because his wife has been murdered, which is like, holy shit. And that shakes the fuck out of Will. And I love that. He's like, can I have a word with you in private? He's like, well, anything you can say to me, you can say in front of my girlfriend. He's like, your wife was found murdered this morning. Like, oh shit.
Just straight up. Okay. See you later.
Right. Yeah. Holy shit. They say her body was found near the park, which is, we know, kind of like Will's roaming ground. He's attacked those guys there before, went to the zoo. But he asked, how was she killed? I believe they just kind of, they say her throat was torn out. It's like, holy shit.
Wild.
Yeah. Like, I mean, definitely from some kind of animal attack. But the chemistry between Pfeiffer and Jenkins right here, they're kind of starting to press them from stuff. They're saying, where were you all last night? Blah, blah, blah. And this is where he drops the fact, the clerks said they saw you two arguing in the lobby. Like I like this whole thing between them, because he's like, if you could just come down to the station to make a few questions. She's like, no, wait, not without a court order. He's like, just asking. He's great.
This kind of, he's fantastic. But this kind of made me think that she was like, she had some legal background. Like she's parrying with all the right answers. Like, you don't have a court order to ask him to come down to the station. Right.
Yeah. You're not pressing any charges against him. Yeah. Like, you can't do anything. Yeah. But yeah, I just, he plays a bumbling cop like so well. Like, he tries to put on a front. He's like, well, I can do all this. And she's like, no, you can't. He just like fumbles it.
He's fantastic. I love Jenkins. Every time he appears in something now, I'm just like, I love him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, we kind of, this is where stakes kind of get turned up like a notch, because not only, this was just a movie about a guy who at first lost his job, and then you find out that he's a werewolf, and that his wife is cheating on him, and that his wife is murdered.
And found a few fingers in his pocket.
Right. It's like, holy shit. Like, this movie does a good job of kind of, It
does ramp shit up.
Right. Yeah. It revs shit up just enough, and it's not overbearing. The pacing of it is really well. I like that. But we get this scene. I love this exchange between Alden and Stewart, where they start talking about, I just hope they don't go after Will. He's a husband. He's the one that they go after. They were separated. That would not be good for the stock. But I love, because this is, if you don't know it at this point, Stewart murdered her like last night. Stewart's the one who attacked her and murdered her. So literally,
does he remember that? He wouldn't remember that though.
No, I think he does, because he's trying to. Like, he doesn't really know what's happening to him. He doesn't have any idea. And I'm not sure of whether, I think he did it intentionally, because he knows, I don't know. I think that either he knows something's up with Will, and whatever's going on with Will is happening to him. And he's like, okay, well, whatever's happening to me is happening to Will, and I'll just frame him for this. And I still get the job, and I still get, he's vindictive like that. It is not really even about the job anymore, like having a salary and, I've got to, blah, blah. This is way more about Stewart wanting to get back at him. But that's just what I took away from it. But this exchange between Plummer and Spader is great, because I love what he says. He's like, who did Will name as his successor? He's like, would Will's contract still be, would everything still be in order?
If he's convicted.
Right. And he's like, well, yeah, he's, and even if that happens, he'll, he's named Roy McAllister as his successor, or no, that's just, if Will's arrested, he gets, if he's convicted, no. He says, would that contract still hold if he was arrested? Yes, unless of course he was convicted, in which of course you'll have to just keep your fingers crossed. I was like, oh shit, dude, Plummer's so great right there.
Yeah, but then, like, I know what you're getting at.
Right, and that's the kind of why I believe that it's totally intentional that Spader murdered her and is trying to frame him. But his response is great. He's like, he's like, no, I didn't mean. He's like, well, what did you mean? He's like, I meant that I love Will and I hope that he's innocent. And I love Will and I hope that he's innocent. And if he is, fuck the job. But if he isn't, fuck Roy McAllister. I'm like, oh, that's great, man. I love that kind of exchange between them. But this is where we see that Laura and Will are just getting out of the city, which is probably a great move. This is like, I mean, probably the smartest thing, you should have done a long time ago. Oh, hey, I live in a big compound with stables for horses, and I could keep you locked up where you're not going to eat anybody. Like, I was like, oh my God, that's like, I feel like I would have done that a long time ago. But this is basically where we see, there's Will's asleep in the car, but she sees the mud on his boots, which is like, oh shit, he's been out. So he definitely went out at some point. So she's starting, she's starting to question like what's going on with Will. So I guess this kind of does like shoot a theory in the whole fact that she's a wolf kind of thing, but I still subscribe to it. But basically they sneak Will in. They can't really have anybody here. Can't really have anybody there knowing that he's there. Obviously he's about to be a suspect in a murder. But they agree. Basically right here, I think they agreed to just lock Will up for the night. They, decided to put him in one of the stables.
Like cold turkey style.
Right. Yeah. The cops basically, they call her because they figured out who she was. Just trying to say that, we just need you guys to come down here and make some kind of statement. Can you come in tomorrow, and make the statement that I asked for today? Which is interesting. What's interesting is actually the DNA thing. She says they still want a DNA swab, and they're like, no, there's some kind of canine DNA mixed in it and makes the whole thing useless. And it's like, oh shit.
It's like it's been messed up. Yeah.
Right. So basically they think that she was attacked by some kind of animal, some kind of dog, and that really freaks Laura Alden out. She's highly suspicious of Will now, and it's great too, especially when she comes back to he comes back to the car and he's right behind her. It's kind of setting things up in that way that that he might have murdered her, because we kind of forget. It's a bit of a revelation that Stewart, he got bit in the hand, but we haven't seen any scenes or any indication that that was Stewart is turning into this thing. There hasn't been anything like that, which is I think that's super interesting. We kind of start getting things in motion in these scenes, because Laura, they lock Will up in the stable. She goes to make a statement, and at the same time, Richard Jenkins says, I've got a guy who says he's Randall's best friend out here ready to give a statement. They've got 5 new murders. They've got a kid with his hand missing out there. I was like, holy shit. But these scenes are great. I think these are my favorite part in the movie. Not the whole, not the extreme. Do what?
In the police station?
Oh yeah. I was gonna say not the transitional scene that takes like 4 minutes of her driving and just shows him wolfing out in the stable. I'm like, holy shit, that does take a fucking long time. But this James Spader, this is the best part of this movie for me. This gave me nightmares as a kid, because again, let the performance do the work. Give James Spader yellow contacts and he will play creepy so well that he will scare the fuck out of you as an adult. Like, he still scares the fuck out of me, dude.
Yeah.
But
the casting is fantastic.
Right. This is where they wind up having their first kind of exchange. He says, that he was his best friend. Of course, she knows exactly what's going on. She doesn't know that he's turning into a wolf, but she knows, oh, you're the piece of shit that fucked Will over and slept with his wife and blah, blah, blah. But what's great is they don't really show a whole lot of Stewart's face at first. We're doing a lot of back-ahead shots, and then when it cuts to him, with those yellow eyes, it's like, fuck, dude.
Yeah, well, like when he first approaches her, I was like, does it look like he has weird eyes? And then I was so annoyed because they didn't cut back to him, like to his face on, like for ages. And I was like, can you hurry up and cut back? Because I didn't know if I saw what I think I saw.
Right, yeah, kind of trails you along. I like that. I like it a lot.
But I love the way she just straight up, she's like, were you bitten?
Oh, dude. This is like the climax of this movie for me. Like, I am coming everywhere right now. What
an odd question.
Oh, dude. She's like, were you bitten? He's like, what? Yeah, oh, you bitten on the hand. What an odd question. What a very odd question. And I was like, holy shit. So good. That is fucking terrifying, man. And he just straight says it. He's like, why are you here? You know, and I was like, oh God, man, he is so, like, you know who should have played Jeffrey Dahmer? James Spader. Like, at some point in his career, dude, he would have crushed.
Totally,
like,
man.
He would have crushed a Jeffrey Dahmer movie, like, or a biopic, I guess.
He crushes it in The Office as a weirdo.
Dude, you've got to see Less Than Zero. He's a fucking drug dealer.
You know what? I'm putting it on the list.
Dude, he's pimping people out and selling cocaine. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. I fucking love James Spader in that movie.
Sounds like my Saturday night.
Yeah, right, exactly. But this is where they call Stewart in, and he says he would like to get together with Miss Alden. You know, can we get together after this? He's like, oh yeah, of course. And he smells her from like the belly button up. I was like, holy shit, man, that's creepy as fuck. Yeah. It's things like that you just lay it on a little thick. Like, it's film. It could be, you could be a little bit more subtle with just him having like a, and we understand, oh, okay, he's starting to wolf out. And she understands that now too. That's why this whole confrontation is freaking her the fuck out. But I love, as he walks over, he gets to the door and he turns around and he goes, don't break our date now. She says, I won't. And he just does that one quick wink. I'm like, oh, fuck, dude. And she gets the fuck out of there.
I don't know. I don't get his motivations with her. Like, is he just trying to rape her? Is that it?
I think he can smell Will. Like, he knows that. Like, he knows that Will.
Makes sense.
Right. And that's why he kind of starts getting, what an odd question. What are you doing after this? Where are you going? Blah blah blah. I think it's that vindictive stride.
But then, like, even when you get to the barn, like, he's just concerned with like raping her.
Right. Yeah. I think that's kind of like the thing is, like, he doesn't have to fight Will right then because Will's locked up. It's like, holy shit, this could not be a better scenario for him. But yeah, we see that Stewart finally giving his side of the story, basically saying that he was best friends with Will, that that they were having an affair. But he plays a very subtle feral kind of thing that I like a lot. His is not over the top, you know. He's not. I like that there's no fangs. He's not growing hair on the side of his face. I'm like, dude, like I like this. It's subtle, you know. It's just the eyes. That's all we needed. But this is where he says that, you know, they were having an affair and Will found out, which is, again, he's murdered her. He's trying to get him set up, like trying to get this whole thing pinned back on Will, which Will, you know, and the whole time is freaking out in that stable with the fucking medallion, you know, on his chest. And we cut back to Stewart's thing. You know, he leaned in, he bit me, and he urinated on my shoe. He told me he would kill her, and I didn't listen. I didn't believe him. I'm like, oh my God, dude. He's just setting himself up like, just perfect, like just perfectly. And there's something also, you know what I see a lot in James Spader is like Bill Skarsgård. Like, the eyes are like shifty, like they're kind of like spread out a little bit farther. He's got a very like Bill Skarsgård kind of look to me, especially with those contacts in. Yeah, well,
also another thing, man. Do these cops like not realize anything? Like, this guy's eyes are weird.
Right? Yeah. I'm like, I mean, I how do you not? I would have liked to have seen him at least try to do something to like get it under control before he goes in. Yeah. Like, if he can change his eye color or put a pair of sunglasses on, like something.
Yeah. And he's very fucking hairy. Like, the back of his neck is like a forest.
Right. Now, this is where something's kind of messing with me, because I'm like, why do you need to show up and do this like now? Like, I understand, like you want to have, you know, you want to have your cake and eat it too. You're not only are you fucking over Will, but you're going to try and rape Michelle Pfeiffer in front of him, you know. I don't get at this point, why don't you just hang back? You've set everything up in motion. Like, is this just, you know, is this his kind of flaw? Like, his vindictiveness is just so hot, or is it something of the animal that's like making him do it? I think that, like, what Dr. Alizea says is, you know, being the wolf is not necessarily bad. The heart of the man is still the same. You can be a good wolf. So I don't know if this is because Stewart is such a backstabbing, vindictive piece of shit that it's kind of extrapolating.
I'm chalking it up to that.
Yeah, it's kind of just making him act out even more. I'm not 100% sure, but I guess it's not super important. But I've always wondered about like his intentions at the end of this. I'm like, dude, just sit back. Like, the dominoes are falling. But yeah, Miss Alden, she's running back to the compound. Stewart makes his confession, and when he leaves, I love that's kind of like that shot in Django that we were talking about that looks so great. Just that quick, on his face, and he's like, you know, and he just leaves. He just leaves immediately. I'm like,
and it's
holy
like
shit.
it's just a zoom, like.
Yeah, it's not anything. It's so jarring the first time they do it. It takes me out of it. But not long after Miss Alden shows back up to, I guess I just call it the Alden compound, Stewart shows back up. Or Stewart shows up, and I love him talking to the guard, George, the guard.
Oh, he's so creepy.
Oh, dude, George, I'm here to see Miss Alden, George.
But,
you know,
by the way, George is from The Wire. He plays Judge Phelan. For anyone who watches The Wire,
I've never seen that. I didn't know he was in it.
Great fucking show.
This exchange is actually one of my favorite lines in the whole movie. George is like, well, I'm afraid I'll have to call. May I ask what your business with Miss Alden is, sir? My business is pleasure, George. Does she look like the fuck of the decade or what? I was like,
dude,
holy fuck.
Like, well, this escalated really quickly.
Yeah, and just his whole back up. Alrighty. I was like, dude, this guy is fucking terrifying. And I love, you know, just the look on James Spader's face after he charges the gate, and as he's driving, I was like, holy shit, that actually looks great. As he like runs over him, James, I was like, God, it looks great again. Like, and it's not a whole lot. He's kind of got a little bit of hair coming in, but there's not like the fangs. It's not like the full scale look that we get of him later that looks kind of silly. I just didn't care for it. Basically, by the time he gets out of the car, he's got like a brow piece on, and like he's got the fangs and the mustache, and I was like, dude, I just don't dig that. Like, I dig. Yeah,
it grew really quickly.
Right. It's like I can dig James Spader just being James Spader with some contacts in. But basically, yeah, and Stewart, he winds up murdering the guard. Laura's trying to pack a bag and get the fuck out of there. Will's freaking out in the stables. You know, we're all starting now, or you know, we kind of feel like we're starting to go down the drain a little bit. Our story's starting to wind down.
So am I, because this is my least favorite part of the movie.
Yeah, like especially with the scenes with Stewart. You know, where he starts talking about, you know, don't play any games with me, Laura. You know, don't you? What's happening to me? I don't mind them as much, but it just goes on for I mean, just their fight goes on for too long as well.
Yeah, the fight is so drawn out.
Right. But I guess, and it kind of just confirms what we're talking about. You know, Stewart even says, you know, now don't play coy with me. You know what happened to Charlotte, right? He literally says something about him murdering her. But you know, we see kind of, you know, her kind of, her trying to coax him, you know, like coax him into something, you know, oh, I asked Will if there were more at home just like him. You know, I was like, holy shit. But I love as she's, you know, as they start attacking, she gets that fire extinguisher, lights him up, and then decks him in the fucking jaw with that thing, dude. That is great. I love the way that looks. All the fog around her. I don't mind some of this, especially when there's all the fire extinguisher fumes and Spader leaps from the fumes. I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. Like, I like that kind of stuff because they give it these real wide shots and it looks great. In my opinion, that's just me. But yeah, basically as Stewart's trying to attack her, you know, she manages to fight him off to some degree. And you know, like, I love that fucking kick to the face that she gives him, but there's a scene where as Spader's walking past Nicholson and Nicholson's looking at him, he just looks at Nicholson and just barely growls. Like, I just flexes a little bit. I was like, I fucking love the way it looks. Because the slow motion does get ridiculous, but God, there's some good scenes with it, but it's so redundant that it devalues like all the time. Will finally is able to get the medallion off, and he jumps over the wall of the stable. And he and Stewart have a good old fashioned cat fight. I'm just kidding. I like the one thing I do like as they're fighting is the kind of almost like the frame rate of things. They fuck with the frame rate in some ways where they show them actually biting on each other. Because it's a little hokey looking and it's a little cheesy, but at the same time, it's not, I like that they're not giving it too much. You know, it's kind of like watching two dogs fight each other. There's going to be a lot of blood and it's going to happen really quickly. But the whole thing of him picking up the pitchfork and like slashing him in the face and stabbing him with it and the whole being chased outside.
I like that.
See, I thought I like it seemed kind of corny to me, especially once he just bull rushes him, and I was like, dude, he's got a pickaxe in his hand, like, you're a werewolf, do something, like fucking like jump over it or.
The way the fight ends with the tossing on the fucking stairs, I was like, God damn, there go your ribs.
Yeah,
See ya.
right. I don't like some of the stuff that they do, like with the frame rate, especially when he actually lifts him up and they speed up the kind of like the George Miller does that a lot in the Mad Max movies. I'm just not a fan of it. I just don't like the way that looks. But yeah, I guess he thinks that the throw just kills him for some reason. I don't know why. But he gets up, grabs.
Yeah, he just starts walking away.
Yeah.
Fucking retard. Ugh.
Exactly. I'm like, what do you think? He like broke his neck or something? Like he's a werewolf. Like I get it.
Go check on him.
Yeah, exactly. Or just go rip his throat out real quick or something.
Hey, why didn't you poke him with a stick like you actually poked a dog?
Yeah, right. But thankfully, as he gets up and he jumps with the shears to stab Will, Laura's there and she shoots him with the security guard's gun. And we see right away that he's starting to like de-evolve. He just turns right back into a human being, which I don't mind the shot of that. I love the shot of his hand as it's like dissolving back into a normal hand because that's obviously a throwback to Wolfman with Lon Chaney Jr., which is kind of how they did those shots back in the day. But yeah, Will escapes, essentially just leaving Laura to pick up the pieces. Fucking asshole. Just leave her to deal with like 3 dead bodies, and she's almost been raped.
See ya.
Like, see ya. I get it. You can't really control this thing right now, but fuck, man. But yeah, basically, everything really gets pinned on Stewart. Right? I mean, they essentially, and maybe not Charlotte's murder. I think that's why they're still looking for Will. Laura tells Will that he's at Teterboro Airport to throw the cops away from him. And I do actually like this.
This is when she looks like most like Catwoman.
Oh, fuck yeah, for sure. With that all black and that almost like a turtleneck she's got on. And I like Alden, too, Raymond Alden, when he shows up. He actually is somewhat concerned. Even though we've seen that they don't get along, he, obviously doesn't want her dead. He's already lost one child. Like, regardless of what their relationship is like, to lose her, I think would really... Because they said that their mother's dead, too. It's like, dude, this guy would be all alone. Like, I actually like it when he shows up. He's like, Laura! Like, he's like yelling for her. I really like it. And yeah, basically they say that Tom's dead. That they, they're just basically trying to figure out where Will is. And they kind of reconcile her and her dad. Basically they ask her to come in and give the statement that she never gave earlier because she just bailed out after, James Spader went all fucking creepy on her. But I love as she's walking off, she smells Richard Jenkins. She's like, another vodka tonic? No, thanks.
It's really good.
And you also show kind of like their hearing, which is great. He leans into his officer. He's like, how the hell did she know that we've been drinking? She's like, you can smell it from a mile away. Like she's so far away from them. I was like, holy shit.
I dig it.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the end of Wolf. We see her just kind of walking out to the green and these weird tracking shots that look like the straight, like this reminds me of The Shining now that you said it, just these shots through the woods. And we see that Will's basically become a full-fledged wolf now and like hanging out with like a wolf pack. But that's the thing.
Yeah, that kind of reminded me of District 9, actually.
I've never seen that.
Oh, good movie.
But we get these final shots of Laura's eyes being yellow. Like, is this... Because he does say, Dr. Alizeus does say something. He's like, you don't need to bite someone to turn them into a wolf. The spirit of the animal can sometimes be enough if somebody's willing. So I don't know if this is something that, I guess if biting someone can turn them into a werewolf, I guess having sex with them does the same thing. It could have been like sexually transmitted or something. I don't know, man.
The rules in this movie are sometimes really flip-floppy, and I think that's why I didn't really take to it much.
Mm-hmm. It's something like I enjoy it, but it leaves just if you left that last scene out, I would have never subscribed to the theory that she's a wolf this whole time. It's just fucking confusing. But yeah, that's fucking it, man. That's Wolf.
That's Wolf.
Yeah, this one of I think it's Jay Heron 73 on Instagram. He's about the only comment that we got, but he just said underrated, and I agree with that. I know you don't. Fuck you. I don't care. No, I do think that I think it's a good movie, and I think it's worth the remake treatment. I think there's a few movies that I keep in a little list of mine. One of them used to be Flatliners, of movies that should have been remade and done a little bit like darker and would have been a really, really great movie. I think this goes the same thing. I think if this were just a little bit darker for an R-rated movie, I mean, it doesn't really, I mean, go hog wild, man. Like, don't don't just do gore it up, don't just go crazy, but you dropped like 4 F-bombs. There's no nudity. There's no like gore in it at all. Like, man,
Colin wanted to say some titties.
I mean, I wouldn't have minded that fucking R rating, man. Like, come on, but yeah, I mean, what are your final thoughts on this movie?
Yeah, I didn't love it. I did like it. I do like being introduced to these really sort of like old hidden gems. I'm not saying that this is like a polished gem. It's kind of dirty. It's like a blood diamond. Well, but it's not even worth like a blood diamond. It's just, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's fine. I don't think I'll watch it again. I think me and you last week we had the island and you were like, I don't think I'll watch it again.
Right, yeah.
I don't think I'll watch this again. That's not saying the quality of this is bad. It's just not for me. There are definitely elements in there that are pretty awesome. Like Jack Nicholson gives it his all. Dude, James Spader is the reason to watch this movie. But I think the priorities of this movie are kind of misaligned. I think it should have leaned a bit more into the drama / horror elements instead of the romance stuff. And it kind of would have come off a little bit better.
Yeah, yeah, that totally makes sense. I think again, this is one of those movies that I'm like, man, this deserves a remake treatment. It could be something really cool if they, if they do it right. If they were to still capture kind of the point of this movie is the fact that it's kind of like I mean, I know a weird comparison like we made earlier, Predator 2, but it's kind of got that. You've got this whole societal thing going on. These people who are high-class billionaires in the publishing industry, and they're fucking werewolves murdering each other's wives. It's like, what the fuck? Like that's automatically interesting to me because you see kind of during the day, everybody, I think you could say it's an allegory for what goes on with those type of people. Like during the day, they are, upright citizens and they're going to charity balls and they're, rubbing elbows with all the right people. But at night, they're fucking animals. It's like these same people are, into some crazy shit that you just don't know about. That's what I take away from it. It's kind of like a movie about class in a way. But I mean, it's nicely packed up with basically a werewolf movie. I love Rick Baker's effects, but I think the best part about this movie is its subtlety. There's not a lot of like crazy action, which there like I'm not gonna lie, there could be a little bit more action, but anymore and it goes too away from what I feel like is a kind of theme and a kind of aura around the movie that a lot of stuff is subtle. The dialogue is quick and it's a talky kind of thing. It's jumping back and forth. The humor is subtle. I think if you stay in line with those kind of like subtleties, especially when we're just talking about every day-to-day people, it's the difference between the scene with Jack Nicholson tearing those guys up when they pull a gun on him versus the scene with James Spader talking to Michelle Pfeiffer. You're like, dude, the Spader one. I mean, obviously, because they let him just kind of go around with it. I think it's the same thing with Bill Skarsgård and It. I think that Bill Skarsgård is great as It, but I think they do way too much stuff with special effects and fucking with the camera rate or frame rate and sending him screaming at us at the camera so much that we don't really get to appreciate the performance of Bill Skarsgård. And I think it's the same thing. I think Nicholson and Spader are great on this, but it could have possibly been even better had they just let them do their own thing and not rely so much on, especially later on, the way Spader looks is goofy. And Will looks kind of goofy as well. I get that he's turning into a wolf, but he looks like a straight up werewolf, But yeah, I love this movie. I love that I got introduced to it from an early age, and I'm probably going to go watch it again right now after talking about it for like 3 hours. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to fucking do that.
Well, you're a crazy person, so I wouldn't put it past you.
I do watch movies religiously. I can't tell you how many times I've watched Monster Squad this month. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, we have a podcast.
Yeah, right.
Come on.
But yeah, if you guys want more of this content, you guys want to check us out, we're basically on all the major podcasting apps, or you can find us, midnightdoublefeature.libsyn.com, I think is actually our website. I could be 100% wrong on that, but I don't think I am. Just Google Midnight Double Feature. You know how to find us. You can also find us on Facebook, Midnight Double Feature, Instagram, Midnight Double Feature. Also, we've got Twitter now, which is MDF Pod, or at MDF Pod. We're also on YouTube. If you guys like what you hear, rate and review us on iTunes and just let us know what you think, and we'll catch you guys later.